Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back live a little bit earlier on a Sunday than usual, but we've got a big day of NBA ahead of us, and we figured if any of the games that we were going to jump on for today, it would be Nuggets Celtics. Seems like it's the best game on the slate. Make no mistake, it definitely would have been Spurs Thunder there if Wembanyama was healthy, but RAP to the Wembanyama season. Again, get well soon, Wemby, get well soon, Pop. Everybody in San Antonio, just stay healthy and stay in good shape down there, but I was seeing, of course, in like the league pass the other night when the Spurs were playing. Were they playing the Grizzlies last night or Thursday night? One of the most, either way, like one of the recent games that the Spurs were playing on league pass. They were scrolling through the injuries on the bottom ticker, and they, of course, had the Wembanyama injury on there, but they just had him listed on there as like out for tonight. Like, shoulder injury, out for the game. It's like, oh man, we're just going to have to be reminded now every game that Wembanyama's off the roster, Wembanyama's hurt. But, I mean, of course, we'd be reminded anyways. And the Spurs still kicking it without him. I mean, they did get that win in that game that I'm thinking of. It got close there for a second. That was last night. But, here, let me go back. I got the college games pulled up here because we do got a little Michigan State, Wisconsin as well, too. So, of course, we'll be focused on the NBA. But that is basically a top 10 matchup, it looks like. I mean, Wisconsin is ranked 11, Michigan State's at 8, so definitely something to keep an eye on as we enter the March Madness season here. I guess we have turned the page, people. March Madness, welcome in. It's officially March Madness month. We should have made it an event, chat. March Madness month of the Remington pod. Who knows? We still got time. And March Madness, I think they already got the event set in stone as well, too, for later in March. I think college basketball's already got that trademark, so maybe, it's best we don't, reproduce or redistribute without express written consent of the NCAA. Is it the same wording for everybody, Chad? I think it's all pretty similar. But let me see here. What were we looking up anyway? We were looking up something about games, chat. We had that Michigan State, Wisconsin, and then something else. Either way, yeah, Spurs. Oh, that's what it was, chat. Spurs, Grizzlies. Yeah, last night it was 128 to 130. They were winning by quite a bit there. And in the first half, it was, let me get the exact score. It was 77 to 58, chat. 77 to 58 in the end by halftime in that game. So the Bucks were playing as well, and the Bucks ended up in a pretty decisive victory as well. But we ended up flipping around because I was like, well, the Spurs, maybe they'll keep an arm's length. We can flip back over later. And then when we flip back over later, it's like, wait a second. Now all of a sudden the Spurs are having to make a sweat. But they did get the win. And like we said, we got Nuggets versus Celtics. Celtics also off of a big game as well. But that one also resulted in a loss. The Cavs were able to get that comeback. Tatum and Brown, they said both had 35 for the fifth time in their careers in the same game in that performance, and was able to, not be enough, unfortunately. And they were talking in the pregame a little bit on Countdown about the degrees of separation between the top teams in the conferences and the second best teams, because are the Nuggets officially the 2 seed in the Western Conference? They might be. If no, I mean, they're kind of the second team in the Western Conference at this point, in the mindsets of the people. But between the Nuggets and the Thunder in the West and the Celtics and the Cavs in the East, and just the fact that that's even the topic of conversation at this point is kind of crazy, where we're talking about the degree of separation between the Celtics and the Cavs, and the Celtics supposed to be the top team, supposed to be the defending champions. And Stephen A was saying a couple days ago that we all kind of default to having them near the top. So, I mean, of course, as it is, then the conversation just gravitates toward the new emerging teams that, like the Cavs, that are ascending and are now a real, locking themselves in a championship contender type way. Versus last year, if they had made a run, I don't think it would have been surprising. The East outside of Boston was, there was an opening for a team to be the second best team. And I forget where exactly they even finished in the regular season as well, too. But they weren't that team that we were like, okay, lock this in, like they should be competing for a title like they are this year, of course. But the fact that the Celtics are now kind of, again, in the mindsets of everybody, and like we were saying as well too, we really love Cleveland, but I think now the question really becomes, and we were hinting at this a couple live streams ago, which is of course, talking about the importance that Porzingis has to the roster. But now to, like, of course, put like a real take on it and to really like flesh out the thought. I think it's really going to start becoming, is that a pause chat? Flesh out? I mean, flesh light, whatever. But hey, yo. But, it's really going to become a conversation of whether they can win the title without Porzingis. And I know that's kind of the question anyways, but Boston, of course, is such a Tatum and Brown-centric team that you forget of Porzingis as like a big... You think of him, Boston, as... Is Big Two also a positive? You think of it as a dynamic duo in Boston with Tatum and Brown, and it absolutely is. But in terms of them winning the title, they kind of need Porzingis, and they didn't have Porzingis in that game, if I'm not mistaken. They don't have Porzingis today as well, too, against the Nuggets. So the Nuggets don't have Aaron Gordon, so there is some neutralizing factors either way. Puts them on an even playing field, even though they've got some injuries. But just to double check, and they didn't have Holiday in that game as well. But no Porzingis in that game. Hauser ended up getting the start. Hauser 2 for 6 from 3 as well too. Probably not most ideal. But again, it's all the conversation becomes, can Tatum and Brown take this team to the title? And it still should be. They still are the two best players in the team. But Porzingis is the piece that pushes them over the top. And in that Dallas series, that was the piece that was the most, I think fair to say, the most electrifying part of the series. Brown won the finals MVP, I think, by the time we got to the end. And Porzingis got hurt as well, too, in some of those games. And they did end up getting wins without him, which was super important. But, Tatum and Brown were both playing well by the end of the finals there. They both had their moments, I guess, of playing well in the finals. But it was when Porzingis was on the court and the mismatches that he provides is when they're at their most electrifying. And Denver is, of course, back in that conversation as a title contending team. So I think it's fair to evaluate Boston on that title contending level in this type of matchup, not just, then going up against Jokic as well. And Porzingis is, of course, a good matchup offense, kind of see where that can go against Jokic. I don't even know what the history of their matchup against each other is. People are always talking about Embiid and Jokic playing up against each other, but Zinger and Jokic, that's kind of fun. And I don't know if there's like is there like a country to country rivalry that is between the Slovenians and the I don't want to start bringing up the past chat, but I'm just is there a way that maybe that this basketball on the court thing can take a couple of steps up as well too? And we know what Towns, the way he's able to space the floor, how that can kind of mess with Jokic a little bit. Zinger, of course, brings a similar offensive versatility, and maybe he's able to provide a similar result against Jokic. But for some reason, I can't think of a ton of like Porzingis versus Jokic games. And Porzingis is another guy that has probably similar percentage of games played to Joel Embiid as well. Jokic, fortunately for him, knock on wood, has been able to stay healthy for a majority of his career. But, oh, chat, the Denver fans just curled up. I know, I'm sorry, but, Embiid and Zinger, of course, two guys that you'd want to see him go up against, and he's not able to get out there. That's why I think Towns is so impressive, chat. And speaking of countdown, they were, of course, today as well, too, Oscar Sunday. The Oscars later tonight, so I guess we'll be tuned into Disney all day, chat. Big day promoting Disney. We've got NBA on ESPN. We've got the Oscars on ABC later. I think, the Combine also is happening today, and I think the NFL Draft is on ABC. So Disney, of course, we know it's an oligarchy now, chat, but Disney, they're taking our money and our airtime, chat. They've got all of it now. But with Denver and Boston, anyways, they were talking about, with Oscar Sunday being today, they of course were doing the segments of comparing the Oscar categories to the NBA, which I guess we didn't prepare, but I mean, you can always float it out there. Who's the best actor? Who's the best supporting actor? And they were bringing up nominations as well too. And I wasn't listening close enough to. I just threw it on the background for the screen at that point just to watch. But while we were setting up and getting ready, but I didn't really see who they ended up pick as like the best supporting actor in the NBA. But since we're bringing up Towns, that is a guy I think that should be mentioned. And I guess are we just steep pivot right into the Oscar NBA segment that we didn't prepare? It's an up and down game to start as well too. 8-10, the first couple of minutes. Again, Tatum and Brown offensively brilliant in that last game. If you look at the box scores and if you just take the totality, the good moments and all that stuff, awesome games for what they were able to do. So at home as well again. Not having to worry about the travel around, especially going to Denver. Altitude, chat. How does Tatum deal with the altitude? Do they need to get the Bane mask going if they were to play in Denver? I don't know if anybody else saw that. Did everybody else see the guy from Louisville wearing the Bane mask on the court? I didn't look in to see if there's a reason why he had a Bane mask on. If it was some reverse sort of like broke nose, broke his jaw. Hey, yo, chat. Whoa. We have to ask, why was he breaking his jaw? But, I don't know if there was a legit reason or if it's just cool. Because I think it's just cool, and it's one of the cooler things that you've seen. Oh, with the full head strap? Pause? That would be crazy. Yeah, here we go, chat. Look at this guy. For those of you that get to see the video, for the pod listeners, sorry, but this guy, he's at least got a Bane replica mask going, and we don't got a, do we get a name? Just Bane mask basketball player, I guess. Is it NIL now? I guess do they own the rights to their names? We can't even put their names in articles anymore because now we have to pay them to put their name in an article. Who knows, Chad? So I don't even know what the rule books allow either in terms of I mean, the NBA, you can't even wear a headband that you tie off in the back. So could you wear a Bane mask in the NBA? I doubt it. I think you can still wear the tie off. Can we call them ninja headbands, chat? That's not canceled, is it? I think you can still wear those headbands in college, right? They didn't ban those in the NCAA. The one thing the NCAA didn't do wrong was just still let the players wear the headband. But apparently this is okay. He continues to go with it. I don't know if it's because people wear the masks for working out to, oxygen stuff. Chat. I don't know. We're not in the game that deep yet, but I don't know if it's providing those kind of benefits or if again this is just purely. Did he get this from a Halloween store? Did he get this from Amazon? Is this like a custom, leather I guess is leather, plastic? Is he playing with a plastic mask on? Again, you're doing that sort of if you got the broken nose face mask on, the Rip Hamilton, the Dark Knight face mask. I guess there's only Batman masks that you can get for the NBA. Can somebody wear like a full eye mask, like Incredible style, like Mr. Incredible, just whip out a mask in the middle, the eye mask in the middle of the game? Who else wore that kind of? Everybody in the Incredibles, what are they, just supers? All the supers in the Incredibles and the bad guys wore, like, of course, the little eye masks. So, Frozone had the full helmet, so some of them did have full helmets, I guess. But Syndrome, I think he also just had, well, I forget. He had the big hairdo, of course, but I think he did just also have a mask as well, too. And, of course, he just had an S on his chest because he can't be walking around with a big old BS on his chest. But outside of the supers... Zorro, iconic face mask. We haven't seen anybody dip into that kind of territory yet. What else can you even do from like the superhero thing? Because Superman goes the opposite way. Superman goes glasses off, and then his disguise is actually wearing a mask in public. Is that the metaphor for Superman, chat? Clark Kent's the mask? Are we just now like being old enough to figure this stuff? It's like, wait a second. What is happening? Real themes in the Superman comics? What's going on? And I did actually just watch the trailer for that movie as well, too. I know, shocker that we would just now watch that trailer, but I'd seen a couple of teaser clips. I mean, it looked pretty good. We're excited. I'm going to go see the movie anyway, so I don't need necessarily the trailer to talk me into it. Like a Superman James Gunn, we're going to be checking out the new version of the DCU. We're going to be giving it a shot. But, in terms of actually committing and watching the whole thing, just to check it out, of course, to continue to pique our interest. Pause. We finally gave it a watch. So there's not And I guess I don't know like the Superman villains too much. And then you get into all the people where they just are different sort of people. Like Thanos, I guess could you wear like a full-on Thanos, you know, mask type ordeal, like we see like a costume sort of design where it, you know, the big piece that kind of fits under the jersey and shirt or whatever. But I don't know if they'd let you go that far with it. Maybe they would, honestly. Who knows? You still can't wear the tie-off headband, but you could wear like a full-on costume pullover face mask. So if you wanted to like go a complete, and then, you know, are we culturally appropriating the Titans at that point? Like which group of people are allowed to even wear purple face? Chad, it just becomes a whole like conversation about what happens if we start going in that direction. So you just need to like stick to accessories, I feel like, instead of, or like, you know, Fantastic Four's dropping. Who's that guy? The Thing, the big Rocky dude in there. Not Rocky, but the guy that's actually made of rocks. Like, you couldn't really look like that superhero guy. So if you were just going full, like, could you go the Captain, the Captain, if you're going to go the Batman face mask, is there a version of the Captain America face mask, I guess? But the Captain America helmet, I don't know if that quite doubles the same way. I guess, should we be clear now, Chad, too? The Steve Rogers cowl? Because I guess you got to go Falcon. Or you got to go, you know, Sam Wilson, Steve Rogers. We got to be clear now. Even though Captain America, I think the box office, you know, we know which one's which. But his mask, I don't know if you could wear this as like a broken nose situation. Oh, I think you could, chat. I think you could. I don't know what, this looks like some weird Ant-Man crossover ordeal. Here we go. Just a good old Batman face mask. I'm trying to remember, did players never actually entered, there was never guys playing with masks on, were there? Which, this mask does have the, where are we at, chat? This does have like the little spots through it. So I guess, you know, is it doing a full 100% protection? Pause! For the COVID, probably, it's probably not the most effective disease defense, but it may be at least stopping something, you know? It's at least better than just nothing. If we had just been passing out Bane masks in the bubble, would that have changed things? Imagine LeBron and Davis winning the title. Everybody just with a Bane mask on. It'd be pretty sick, chat. Those highlights. If anything, you know, I guess we're not shopping for Captain America masks at this point. But, you know, the highlights are already tough enough to watch from back in the bubble. I feel like at least throwing on some superhero accessories would have made it a difference. So, Batman is about the only way you can go with it. I think the Riddler's also got one of those like little face masks as well too. The Joker of course just goes face paint. So then, you know, we're back to square one with that conversation. But I think the Bane mask, I'm honestly surprised it took this long for somebody to at least try it. Maybe it's been tried in D3 or something like that, Div 3, and we just don't know about it. It just didn't quite make its way onto the House of Highlights, and for some reason, nobody in the gym had their phone out at this college just taping this guy. Or maybe it's just a guy just waiting on the bench, like, got his mask, and he's, the minute I check into this game, I'm going to be wearing this mask. It's going to be so cool. And just, unfortunately, it just never happens. He just never checked in. So, I don't know if this guy is actually the first or the first mainstream, but again, he's the first across our feed, so you got to give him his props. He's groundbreaking. He's transcendent. A generational talent, chat. A generational NBA accessories talent, or basketball accessories talent, is this guy. I'm trying to think, is there anything from, like, White Men Can't Jump that you could put on? I guess they got, like, some hats and some headbands and stuff, but, you know, the hats, they're not really going to let you wear all that much. So, and again, are they gonna let you like do the full-on strap ordeal? Pause. Plus, I feel like you might even be able to get maybe even a little bit more of a Bane mask as well. But what type of player do you need to become if you have a Bane mask on? Because the Batman, I mean, you could kind of fit it to however you want for the Batman thing, but And I guess maybe is Batman more a defensive fighter or an offensive fighter? The real martial arts people would have to break that down for us. But you could get into him. A lot of guys, of course, when they wear the Dark Knight mask, they have like these big offensive performances. So you can get behind that, of course, attacking, cleaning up mentality of just ravaging through the city, just one crazy, almost like Batman video game style versus in the movies. I know there's, of course, like crazy individual days in the movies. I'm trying to think, one of those video games was just like one night's like super insane. So that's like the version of the game where Kobe Bryant has the mask on, RIP, and just drops 52, or Embiid is wearing the mask and he has his massive 40-point performance or whatever. LeBron had his nights. Kyrie, I mean, a lot of guys. Jaylen Brown, of course, watching this game right now. I think has Murray. I don't think Murray has. Has Porter? Porter never has. And Jokic would almost be up there for no accessory players. Jokic might be in contention for greatest no accessory player of all time, but he does have the leg sleeves, so there is at least something there. I think Sam counts leg sleeves as an accessory, so I think officially they go down in the list. Jokic is an accessorized player. Jokic is a vain basketball player, chat. He does care a little bit. If Jokic truly didn't care, he would wear 0 leg sleeves. I'm trying to think, did Larry Bird had a wristband, right? Were Larry Bird and Magic Johnson just no-go? Because Kareem eventually goes glasses. Ooh, Larry Bird might have been no accessories, chat. Of course, they weren't going like compression underneath. Ooh. Okay, it might be Bird. Bird did had some. He had the iconic 3-point contest when he had the warm-up still on, the shooting jacket. So some iconic moments with some extra stuff on, I guess. But high socks, we're not counting it, chat. I think Larry Bird might be right now the placeholder. Let's see. Did Magic have a wristband? Is the question. MJ, of course, had his forearm ordeal going on. Magic had 2 finger wraps? Are we counting it? And he had the knee wraps. Magic had the knee wraps and the finger wraps. So Magic had accessories. So is there a correlation, chat? No accessories, Larry Bird? Yikes. Of course. Larry Bird just not into fashion, I guess. But he is, I think, right now the front runner for greatest no accessory player. I'm a bad fan, chat. I'm trying to remember, did Tim Duncan wear leg sleeves? He didn't. So it's Timmy and it's Larry Bird for best no accessory players of all time, I guess. Hakeem over Duncan, probably not quite. Kobe, of course, sleeved up. Russell? Bill Russell? Not that we forgot about Bill Russell, chat. But did he have finger wraps? He just had so many rings that those count as accessories, right? He did also have finger wraps. I guess, did he just break his fingers at one point? Bill Russell just playing injured? So Bill Russell always at least a little bit injured enough to be considered wearing accessories? Is that a wristband or a wrist wrap? So it looked like he would tape up his fingers a lot. Bill Russell, a lot of finger tape. So I think we have to put him in the list, chat. I don't know. Maybe he goes into, do we have to go time frame? Is it like the merger? Does Bill Russell, you don't want to say not count, but when we look at accessory players, do we have to look pre-post merger? Separate the eras again in a different way? Otherwise, I think technically just to kind of keep Tim Duncan as high up on the list as possible, do we put Bill Russell in the accessorized players, chat? Because otherwise, we have to go Tim Duncan to 3. Russell, Bird, and Duncan? Yeah, chat. Unfortunately, Bill Russell, no accessory. Very, very convincing evidence of no accessories. No, like, little necklace or anything as well, too, for Bill Russell. little pendant. Maybe, I don't know what was going back on in the day, if there's a reason as well too, if that was the right move back in the day. But D Brown, no accessorized players. So is it just Boston guys and then the rest of the league? And then Austin Reeves there for a couple of games. But anyways, yeah, shout out to this guy right here, which I guess we should actually... James Scott. Shout out James Scott. Do we want to look up his numbers and try to see if it actually helps? And it's 20-13 right now. Okay, 4 minutes left in the fourth. So Boston, you got to give him 4 quarters, chat. Yikes. Cleveland just exposed. Boston will let a game slip away. And Jokic will make a comeback at some point. Pause. Jokic off the court right now. The Strother minutes? Okay, wait. Are we going to get locked in on the Strother minutes here? It's how it goes, chat. There's just sometimes you're just like those random guys that... I mean, Jokic is just so good at this point that we'll just be looking up Louisville players with Bane masks on. We'll be trying to find their box scores. And then all of a sudden now, Strother checks in the game. We're like, oh, got to watch Strother. Just because Jokic... Oh, no, there's Jokic. Murray. Jokic, Murray, Strother, Braun. And who else? Porter. So I guess Gordon is ideally, of course, in that top 4. But is this the new top 4 next year after they trade Gordon in the offseason, chat? Yikes. Somebody's going to get moved. Oh, this is college football. Wrong James Scott. Yikes. Michigan State, get him out of here. He's been on the computer for too long. My brain just broke. Where are we going? College basketball. Okay. Michigan State player just threw us off, chat. I think that's the first time this year we've been on a Michigan State player's or Ohio State player's page at any point. No, that's not true. We've looked at some... Because Ohio State was, we're not going to talk about what they did in college football this year, but we were watching some of those games a little bit later in the season than normal. So 7 points a game, transferred from College of Charleston, but he leads the ACC in 2-point percentage. So that's pretty good for I was going to say a guard, but they haven't listed here as forward. Oh, okay, 6'11". Okay, so he is a Bane. He's a dominating player. Intimidating player. 6'11", 210. Giving him a pause of 7 and 6. 23 minutes. Per 40. He's a 12 and 11. A double-double guy. 78% around the rim. What are we looking at? Blocks? Only a block and a half per 40 minutes. James Scott. I think Bane would be a little bit better on defense. Would Bane probably also be putting up more than 7 points a game? I don't know if Bane would be 6'11", 210 either. I feel like this, modern day forward, tall, slender. Bane, of course, tall, I think for sure. I don't know, like, comics if he's like a giant, but, he's definitely a big guy. But is Bane, for some reason, the first name that came to mind for Bane, and I feel like this is a compliment both ways. I feel like it's Charles Barkley, chat. Would Bane be like a Charles Barkley type player? I don't know if we're going to turn this into a full Batman NBA comps type segment, but just the relentless nature, I don't know if Bane would have maybe the charisma, of course, of Charles Barkley, but or Charles Oakley maybe? Bane would be Charles Oakley with maybe a little bit more of Charles Barkley's offensive game. I'm giving Bane the benefit of the doubt that he's going to have some skill as well, too. But definitely there's definitely a lot of Charles Oakley in Bane's game. Bane should have, we're literally calling Charles Oakley Bane now. Oakley should have had a Bane mask on at some point in his NBA career. It would have been the most fitting thing, I think, of maybe any superhero. Steven Adams' Aquaman thing is obviously pretty convincing as well. I don't know if there's any other as close lookalikes as that. It says, does anybody look like Chris Evans in the NBA, chat? I don't know if there's any Robert Downeys either. In the NBA. Are there any white actor looking guys in the NBA? But there is a Jason Momoa looking guy in the NBA. So that just shows you why Jason Momoa is such a stud, chat. Because he could also be an NBA player in some life. Steven Adams is probably a little... Mo is obviously not 7 foot tall. He's... I don't know if we're going to just guess Mo's height here, chat. What's the over-under on Mo's height? 6'5"? He might be like 6'6", 6'7". But he could definitely be, you know, forward, swingman for sure. Definitely, maybe he's a little more Barkley-like as well. But, see, like, Rodman, he's... You know, his nickname was the Worm. He's like a little too springy. See, Barkley is pretty athletic as well. Barkley, you know, he gets knocked on now for it and clowned on by Shaq and all the guys for the for how he is now. But back in the day, even though he was maybe even a little more Zion-y than not, he was still like carrying himself, and still his athleticism was translating in a different way. And he's just a better basketball player than Zion as well, too. Like, Zion was still had a couple of highlights. He had a dunk in that Spurs game where we were just dumping all over him after the first quarter of that game. Pause. He had a dunk later in that fourth quarter where he took off from almost the free throw line and just 2 feet, just hop right over to the rim, dunk it in pretty easily. It's like, yeah, the athleticism is still there. It's just some of the basketball stuff continues to slip. Like, yeah, Barkley... You hit the basketball player and the athleticism, both to go with it. But I don't know if Bane would be like springing around the way that Barkley would, or the way that Rodman would. But he would be, I think, a big double-digit rebounds for sure. 12, maybe even like 14 rebounds. If he was 7 foot, you could almost see like and maybe he is. I don't know if we need to get like a Bane comic height, but you can see almost maybe like a DeAndre Jordan type game for him as well, too. Some Lob City. Oh, jeez, chat. Really throwing down some dunks. 5'9". Oh, that's just because that's what he is with Tom Hardy. I thought Bane was... I mean, he's jacked up. Make no mistake, chat. Charles Oakley? I think it's fitting. I don't know if Charles Oakley and Bane have like the same bench press number, but they're both equally as terrifying silhouettes. If all the lights went out in the arena and then just one of them lit up and you saw just Charles Oakley's outline, it may flash similarly to Bane. It may look not all that different. Does it have a height on here? No height for Bane? Where do the nerds go to get all their information about these superheroes, chat? Where are these wiki fandom sites at? Here we go. Fandom character profile. 62 years old. 6'8", 350? Okay, so Bane, he's not an NBA player for sure. Bane's a tackle. Bane is more like Larry Allen than he is like Charles Oakley. Larry Allen should have had a Bane mask on. Forget these NBA players. We need to start focusing on the tackles. This is where Bane's true talent is at. Protecting the quarterback. The Chiefs need to go out and sign Bane, chat. It's just what it is. They were struggling in the Super Bowl. Bane would be wrecking Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter is not... Jalen Carter, interior defender. I get it. But Josh Sweat? I mean, Bane is going to get Josh Sweat with one arm. Pause. And then... That's crazy, chat. Jalen Carter with the other. But you get what it's football perspective. You get what we're saying. Born September 15th, 1977, but he's 62 years old? Can I not do math, chat? Is the math not mathing for me, or is the math not mathing for you? 77? I don't know. But either way, so if we put Bane on a little bit of a cut, you know, some extra cardio in the Bane workout regimen, maybe Bane, we're not gonna eat the whole cow, just a couple of burgers. Like, maybe we could cut Bane down. You know, speaking of Zion might be the comp for Bane, chat. Yikes! Hey, yo! But, if we were able to get him a little slimmer, yeah, I think that would be pretty fitting, that Oakley comp. Somewhere in that range. But either way, I don't... And he, you know, the superhuman strength and all that stuff, I don't know if that makes him faster. How does that impact the fast twitch stuff? But... Either way, shout out to James Scott, man. A move that I can't believe that we didn't think about it ourselves, and that we haven't been out here campaigning for a player to wear a Bane mask at some point in their career. But seems like James Scott's the first to do it. So you got to give credit where credit is due. Historic moment for our guy at Louisville. But like we did say, the Oscars are today, chat. And I got to be honest, this is about as little as I have known of the Oscars about as any year that they have happened. So this is actually a good chance to just, in general, just catch up and see what's even happening, chat. So make no mistake, you don't show up to Rem and Sam for I mean, I guess you do sometimes for predictions. But we do know how to go through a Wikipedia page and see who's been nominated. Conan O'Brien is hosting tonight, so we may be tuned in, chat. We may be tuned in. Spurs Thunder may be at halftime at that point. Thunder, is Shea playing tonight? He may be, just ripping us apart by the time we get to the start of the Oscars. So we'll definitely be at least throwing it on it in the background at some point to at least hear our guy Conan O'Brien. Shout out. I don't know if he's turned down. He's had to have turned it down. There's no way the Oscars haven't invited Conan to host. But then again, Conan really hasn't hosted any events. The one that I can think of mostly is he hosted the NFL Honors one year. And it's honestly one of the better monologues that we've had for the NFL Honors hosts. There was Steve Harvey did it a couple years. I can't even remember who else did it. The only thing I remember, honestly, from any of the years of NFL Honors is that Conan O'Brien one year showed up and did a Bill Belichick impression. And it was pretty funny. They did it in NFL lookalike thing. Speaking of lookalikes, they did a comparison if they were casting an NFL movie. But Alec Baldwin hosted the first three? I honestly don't even remember that. 2012 to 2014? Seth Meyers in 15, and then, O'Brien. Keegan-Michael Key, I think he's hosted a couple times. Yeah, 3 times now for Keegan-Michael Key. Snoop Dogg hosted the last one. Of course he did, chat. I can't believe Snoop Dogg didn't host it before as well. But I can't believe Snoop Dogg's honestly not hosting the Oscars. But Kevin Hart's doing it. Kelly Clarkson in 2023? Oh, there's maybe a reason that... but anyways, chat, Steve Harvey with the 3 in a row. But the Conan O'Brien 2016 one, I mean, easily the best one. And it's not even that it's just the best one. It's the only one that, again, is even going bad. Sorry to everybody else, I guess, that did a monologue at NFL Honors. But it's the only one that I find myself going back to and actually rewatching. Because I don't know what your guys' rotation is, but we've said it before. I'll throw on an award show monologue. The Ricky Gervais stuff, I think everybody's going back and rewatching that at some point. That's in the yearly rewatch rotation for everybody. But Norm at the ESPYs. Sorry, Ricky. Ricky's number 2. Norm at the ESPYs, number 1, for sure. Ricky Gervais, iconic. Like we're saying. Conan at the NFL Honors. And then hosting. Chris Rock has had some monologues, some good monologues. Hosting the Oscars as well. But I always loved the idea of hosting because if they got rid of it. Speaking of Chris Rock, and I don't remember if Chris Rock was he hosting the year he got slapped? I don't think he was hosting. He just did a bit. Maybe that was one of the year that they didn't actually have a host. But just a bunch of facts. The Ricky Gervais thing. Maybe some hosts bombed as well too. Maybe there was some unfortunate performances. I mean, there have been some historic rough performances from the Academy Awards host, that's for sure. Douglas Fairbanks hosted the first one in 29. William DeMille? William Churchill DeMille, 1930? Is that who the DeMille Award is named after? How many DeMilles are there? But I thought that was a Cecil DeMille. Maybe he's just Cecil and we're dumb, chat. Yeah, Kimmel. They had the collection of hosts. No hosts. And COVID maybe as well, too. You get a little COVID running here. Kimmel. I mean, shout out to Kimmel. He's obviously worthy of hosting he's worthy of hosting the Oscars. But is that a little also they don't have a host in there? In there? They've got Basically, since 2017, it's been either no host or Jimmy Kimmel for a while. And that's just me making the joke because he's a company man hosting, obviously, the ABC late night thing. So it's just like, or could they almost make him do it in a way? Pause. Be like, hey Jimmy, we're the bosses. You got to go over and host the Oscars for one night. So then, like, actually going out and getting somebody to host. It's been since Chris Rock in 16, Neil Patrick Harris, Ellen, McFarlane, Crystal, Franco, and Hathaway in 11. Of course, is one of the infamous bombs for the hosts for the Academy Awards. Of course, Hathaway. I mean, we'll defend Hathaway all day, but that's probably not one of the performances that we're going to go back and rewatch. So outside of Crystal in 04, Martin in 03, Steve Martin, we might have to go back and rewatch some of these Whoopi Goldberg hosts as well, too. Robin Williams in 86, Lemon in 85. Chat, we'll watch anything that Jack Lemmon's in. Pause. We will be watching the 1985 Oscars opening monologue. Amadeus won at the Oscars this year. Oh, this is a real artsy year for the Oscars. And Jack Lemmon, I think, is a pretty industry guy as well, too. So I feel like that monologue is going to be pretty favorable. But then again, this is still in the era where they're poking fun at each other. I mean, Liza Minnelli and Richard Pryor are hosting 2 years. And Carson in 84, like, these guys are all still of that old school roast era. They're all from having a good time. Bob Hope in 78. Warren Beatty. Jane Fonda, chat, the GOAT. Jane Fonda hosting in 77. But yeah, I guess a lot more uneventful than we thought. Gervais has really made that like a thing that could really potentially be interesting. So I expect Conan to have a pretty good show. Gervais is different because he's willing to, really go after the people. And they're just such extreme roasts. There's such, there's such quality roasts that material is going to be good in basically any setting. But Conan, I feel like, can walk that line. Like, Conan doesn't have the mean streak the way that Gervais does. And Gervais, you love him for it. That the good moments in his comedy, like, it's all coming from that sort of that angle and perception of life that he has. But Conan is just more of like the goofball type of guy. His set might be able to do better in the room and then also be able to do better on TV as well too. Conan might be able to be the guy that walks that line. Because again, Gervais can't really kill in the room. And for some of those events, you've got like the Gen Pop. Is there the admission tickets versus the celebrities? I don't know. Or do they even let people go to buy tickets to the Oscars? I don't even know how that works. So is there like a balcony of people that are laughing at the Gervais jokes? I have to forget. And again, Gervais, the material is so funny that there's gonna be that laughter of like, what is happening in this moment? But that true like killing in the room, everybody on the same page, the jokes are working, everybody's finding it funny, the punchlines are ringing off at the right time. Like I feel like Conan is in line for a good performance tonight. And make no mistake, we definitely would be watching that monologue from the NFL 2016 honors, but YouTube has been very, very strict with the copyrights as of late, so we're just going to go ahead and say no and continue to try to figure out ways to work around it. But I guess that'll be just not necessarily, it's not even homework, chat, because it's, it's just great entertainment for you guys to go and rewatch. Timeout Malone, chat. Celtics on a run here, 42-27. Jokic. They're going to need Jokic, chat. Jokic is going to need 50 and 20 and 20. It's just what it is. But for the categories, should we get into the categories? Jokic MVP? See, that's the difference in some of the Oscar stuff, in some of the verbiage for the sports thing is, Best Picture is, in theory, a little bit different than MVP. Like, are there correlations? For sure, but is the Best Picture the most valuable picture of the year? And I think maybe that's where the disconnect has happened in the conversation, because a lot of times, especially you get to looking at some of the artsy films that they're nominating, and I'm not even against nominating artsy films, and I'm not even against nominating films that people haven't necessarily, like that quote unquote people haven't seen or whatever, or weren't necessarily commercial hits, because every year is going to be different. There are going to be some years where the big commercial successes are the quality movies of the year, and then there are going to be some years where you're like, oh, this movie that had a $10 million budget and did $40 million in the box office, had a little bit of a run on streaming, like this movie is actually the best movie of the year, and then 10 years 5 years later people are revisiting it and it's like living on as a classic. But for the it's okay for the conversation to be a little bit malleable, but the fact that it's so in the, of course, the era that it's in, of almost, is it even, and I don't want to say that it's not rewarding quality anymore as well too, chap, but it just seems to be like it's its own type of thing. And that's really, of course, the problem now, is it doesn't seem like, for the NBA, it's almost like the NFL MVP versus the NBA MVP, where you just kind of know that the NFL MVP is a quarterback award. And the NFL MVP is not necessarily a broken award, because you get to the end of most seasons and you can look at it and go, there is a quarterback that is very deserving of the MVP, even in years where it's not as run away. Like, what are the years where the skill guy was actually, because there's a difference, of course, between the guy, of course, having the case and the guy being like far and away the top guy. The year Peterson won the MVP, it's so impressive that his running back season was awesome that it was. But it's like, in the course of that season, it was clear that he was the number one guy. Barkley, I mean, the Eagles won the Super Bowl this year. His importance was proven. Of course, the strength of the rest of that roster as well, too, really bared itself out. And it was totally fair for him to be in the conversation for the MVP, but maybe to go, hey, if we actually have to give it to one, if there's one person that is going to win this award at the end of the day, maybe it's going to be one of these quarterbacks. But it can feel like it's a little bit narrow-sided at times when you know that position on the field is so heavily favored to win that award. And that's where the Oscars are at right now, is where it feels like there's just a type of movie that they're considering and a type of movie that they're not considering. Even Dune Part 2 is like a movie that is a super, a movie that's a commercial success and a movie that's still able to be a pop culture hit. I don't know. Do I have to have a hot take here, chat? Like, I mean, Dune obviously was a cultural hit. So just because maybe we weren't as fully tuned in on the Dune stuff, probably speaks to more where we're at with consuming some of the new movie stuff than it does with Dune. But then again, and not to compare everything to Marvel, but just even with like a movie like the Barbie movie or the Oppenheimer movie, where you get into that people have to see this territory. Like, I don't know if Dune ever quite moved into that territory. Even Dune Part 1, which we did definitely go see and have rewatched on streaming as well too. I know Dune Part 2 is on streaming. It's just an undertaking, chat. Like, you guys know, but we're very filtered and streamlined right now on our movie watching. It's like 90s movies and 90 movies under 2 hours for the most part. I'm trying to think, because we said when we were trying to pick Gene Hackman movies that we turned down The Firm because it was like 234, but there was one that I did watch recently that was like 2 something, but it was close. It was one that was like 205, and you're like, okay, like the last 7 minutes are usually credits anyways, so you're usually going in under that 2 hour mark. But Dune is just a little bit, pause, it's a little bit, chat, a little bit too long for the movie rotation right now, but we'll get in there eventually. Hey, yo, we'll get in there. And they did get Wicked in as well too, but do we need to look at the box office here real fast? I think the Barbie box office is pretty significant above Wicked. Not to say that Wicked didn't have a massive box office. Yeah, 729. But Barbie, we know, was $1 billion film. Was it 2 billion? Did Barbie go 2? Because Oppenheimer did $1 billion as well, I think. Which, if anything, of course, shows you where Nolan is at. Yeah, 1.4. Maybe Oppenheimer was like 800K. And is this opening or is this total? I wasn't paying attention. 975 for Oppenheimer. 9758. So basically almost $1 billion. And that's a lot of Nolan star power. And for a 3-hour movie as well, too. Basically breaking all of our rules for what we were just saying for watching movies, because you guys know we did go watch Oppenheimer. But Barbie was in that everybody quite has to see it category. And maybe that's a little bit of a nitpick for, and you know, the difference, I guess it's not just 300, because it's not just getting to that $1 billion threshold. Barbie was at 1.4. So Barbie still is at, you know, 800, you know, 30+%. Can I do percentage math right, chat? That's still a pretty sizable difference between those two type of movies. Between the rewatch and just the little bit of a broader cultural impact that Barbie had. Where people that didn't even want to go see the Barbie movie were getting... I mean, we were dragging people to the Barbie movie, chat. It's just what it is. we weren't even getting dragged to the Barbie movie. We were like, people have to go see this movie with us. But I don't know if Wicked and Dune Part 2 quite crossed over. And Barbie did get nominated. And for what Nolan was able to achieve with Oppenheimer, I am glad that he was able to... I'm obviously glad that Nolan won the awards. And Nolan getting the recognition for being the best at his craft at some point is definitely something that should be happening at some point in his career. But if we are being technical, chat, I guess we could do a little Oscar revisit from last year as well, since we're in the Oscar conversation of it all. And since now Boston has almost pushed this lead to 20 by halftime, 51-33 with 5 minutes left. So really proving a point after... I guess in the first half anyways. Like, I was going to say proving a point after losing to Cleveland, but they lost to Cleveland after blowing a huge lead. Pause. So a 20-point lead, like we were saying earlier, is going to be like the last 2 minutes of the game. Even the Celtics in the finals last year, the buzzer was 60 seconds and they were up 3-1 in the series. It's like, oh, are we still going to win the series? What's going to happen? It's like, okay, at some point you just got to give in to the fact that you guys are the better team. But... and I don't remember exactly what else was in conversation last year. The Holdovers did get a little bit of a push, I think. Anatomy of a Fall was a name. American Fiction for sure. I think Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro. Ooh, I think maybe Past Lives was the other one. Poor Things and Zone of Interest. Like, all, you know, quality films that got nominated for sure. But I think maybe Past Lives was the other major contender. But in the conversation, it did kind of get narrowed down to that Barbie Oppenheimer moment. And again, I'm super glad that with what... Because like we've talked about before, a lot of times the reason that these award things maybe don't line up properly with where they're at in their career... Because you're going to look at Oppenheimer and go, are you ranking it the best Christopher Nolan movie that he's put out? It's not the best Christopher Nolan movie that he's put out. I'd have to go back and remember our rankings of where we put that. I don't think we did it... Pause, number 2. I think Dark Knight's obviously for us still the best Nolan movie. I don't know what, you know, Inception, you can really make the case for any movie at number 2. If we're just going rewatchability, you know, Inception, Tenet, Interstellar, any of those iconic Nolan movies can be in that mix. Memento, of course, as well. Like, Oppenheimer is probably not a better, like I'm saying, not a more rewatchable movie than that. And it's not the type of movie where... Again, the Oscars didn't pick the movie that everybody went and go saw and wasn't a cultural moment and is not going to have some version of legs. But I am kind of a year later looking back going, should Barbie have won Best Picture? And I know that you could probably nitpick both films for the filmmaking type stuff of it. But again, at some point, there's the film-sided debate for it and then there's the bigger picture debate. And I gotta be honest. For me, again, I like in Nolan versus Greta Gerwig. That's like a LeBron Jordan conversation. You know, pick whoever you want as the better film director. Nolan's, like we were saying, his catalog at this point is a little bit more expansive. So we're just have spent more time rewatching his catalog, and at this point, with the way that those movies we have the time spent with them, you know, they're still classic movies in our rotation for us. But and with where he's at in his career with that rise, like a lot of. Like we're saying, with award shows, it's earning that rise versus maybe a lot of times getting awarded correctly in the moment. And there are times, you know, like the Grammys with Kendrick, should they have given Good Kid, Mad City the Grammy in the moment? Like, it's not like Macklemore had the history under, you know, that's the debut album as well, too. Like, you know, there's moments where award shows will mess up and, you know, not give it the proper way. But a lot of times it's like, well, the reason that maybe he won for this movie instead of that movie is because he needed that movie and he needed the rise of that movie. And the fact that he was able to make another great movie after that, and the fact that he was able to solidify himself as a great director. It's that balance of the legacy versus the in-the-year thing. That's what we were saying, versus that MVP versus that just straight up the best in class, best in show sort of conversation for these things. So, and in the moment as well too, I mean, like I was saying, just the idea of Nolan getting an Oscar is so appealing in the moment and him finally locking down those wins. But I personally rewatch and have watched Barbie more times than I've seen Oppenheimer. It's just what it is, Chad. It's, for me, a more rewatchable movie. And Oppenheimer, it's, you know, maybe war movies as well too, like, aren't the thing that I'm rewatching the most. Dunkirk is another movie we should have mentioned for that Nolan list. I know Sam would have probably brought that up. That might honestly be his number one Nolan movie, his favorite Nolan movie. I'd have to go back and, you know, we have to check the tapes, chat, and see what he said. But, you know, those movies maybe don't make it in our rotation. So it's like, how often are we going to be throwing on the movie about the making of the atomic bomb, you know, just as like entertainment? But, you know, for Barbie getting nominated for what it was as a moment, I'm not saying that the Oscars are wrong last year, because they are definitely right by awarding Christopher Nolan for this quality project. But in a vacuum situation, and maybe it's just rewatching Focus as well too. Margot Robbie, we're still on the Margot Robbie hype train, but that's a close call, Chad. That's a close call. And Past Lives as well too. You got to give it its respect. We'd have to go back and get the retrospective odds on that. You know, where was Zone of Interest at for odds to win? Of course, for directing. And Gerwig, I think maybe even more aggressive than Barbie not winning Best Picture. Like, that's definitely a debate. Gerwig not getting nominated for Best Director is kind of brutal. Kind of rough looking back at that. And Scorsese, you know, Killers of the Flower Moon. Yorgos for Poor Things. Jonathan Glazer for Zone of Interest. Is he probably maybe a little more awardsy than some of the films that we've watched? But you know, these guys, big names with Nolan, you know, again, cleaning up at the Oscars. He's going to have his name in there. But we got Murphy winning for Oppenheimer. Emma Stone for Poor Things. Shout out. Over Annette Bening, Lily Gladstone, Sandra Hüller, and Carey Mulligan. So that one I feel like is going to age really well. We'd have to go back and remember all of the actual performances from last year, but of this group, Lily Gladstone, of course, Killers of the Flower Moon, as a tough debate. But I think Emma Stone, as, you know, sort of in that Nolan role of her career, her rise, her status as an actor. It's hard to look back at any award that she's won. And all of her performances, even if you look at Poor Things as a movie. And I feel Poor Things versus Killers of the Flower Moon as a movie, you know, Poor Things probably could have the conversation of maybe better movie as well too. But her performances are going to be so strong in any of the movies that it's going to be hard to go back and rewatch any of those and say that none of those are going to age well. And same for Best Actor. Bradley Cooper, Coleman Domingo, Paul Giamatti, and Jeffrey Wright as well too may have gotten some like sneaky buzz for this. Giamatti, Coleman Domingo as well. And it may depend if Coleman Domingo is able to win. He's never won. He's never won an Oscar for Best Actor. I don't think he's ever won for Best Supporting either. Oh, that's right. He is he? Oh, nominated in 23. So not nominated this year. Is he nominated this year for supporting? We'll go figure it out when we go back and look. But he feels like he's got an Oscar at some point in his career. So let's see. Upcoming projects. Oh, he's playing Joe Jackson in the Michael film? Oh, I didn't know that, chat. You know, of course, I haven't looked too much into the details of the Michael film, but we saw that it was set for November. So we just set it for the watch list, and we're like, just really keeping an eye on a release date to make sure that it's not moving around. I don't know why it would, but because again, I haven't been like reading the news, so I don't know if there's some reason why the Michael Jackson thing would be thrown off. But it just feels like the type of project, a movie about Michael Jackson. It could get the release date for that could get pushed around a little bit, but seems like it's on track for everything to go according to plan for that. So, Best Supporting Actor as Joe Jackson. in the Michael film chat, there may be a chance. Maybe. That could be a pretty killer role. And he's set to star and direct in a Nat King Cole biopic, so he's going for it, chat. I mean, if these don't get Oscar buzz, then something went drastically wrong. Slated to appear in Spielberg's next project alongside Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor, Eve Hewson, Wyatt Russell, and Colin Firth. What movie is this? This is from January of this year, or September of this year? September of last year, I guess. Is there a plot? Details have been kept under lock and key. Wow. We don't even know if it's off a book or anything like that. Is this IP? Is this original? What is Spielberg cooking up with Coleman Domingo in the lab right now? Spielberg, Coleman Domingo, and Emily Blunt? You know, with some of these older directors, it does get to a point where, I mean, yeah, like Spielberg, love Spielberg. Scorsese, love Scorsese. We're never going to not want them to be making movies. But, and maybe it's, again, not them making movies. But it's like, okay, are we also going to be getting the young talent? That's why it is fun that Coogler is making movies. Greta Gerwig, like, we make sure to have these, you know, next generation of filmmakers. And I know there's several generations of filmmakers between Ryan Coogler and Martin Scorsese, that's for sure. But, you know, in terms of the dominant pop culture guys, like, there's definitely maybe a shorter range of guys than would be just in the game. But for Spielberg working with current talent, Coleman Domingo, and it said he's slated to appear, so I'm hoping the movie is Coleman Domingo as the main next to Emily Blunt. But if it's Emily Blunt, Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor, Emily Blunt, Wyatt Russell, like, you know, Colin Firth as well too. These are good choices for anybody slated in that lead role. But definitely could see Coleman Domingo getting an Oscar at some point in the future. So if he's able to lock one down in one of these roles, then maybe that will age super well. But again, Cillian Murphy in the moment, it felt like, was kind of running away with that one. Maybe Robert Downey, Gosling as Barbie, Ruffalo, De Niro, and Sterling K. Brown. So you'd probably say Sterling K. or Gosling. And Gosling was, of course, very dynamic in Barbie. If could argue the best thing in the Barbie movie. Did he have like the most efficient performance, you know? It's like, okay, Margot Robbie, at the end of the day, her stat line, you look at it, she puts up like a 26, 10, and 8. But maybe she shot 42% from the field. Like, Gosling put up 22 points in a couple of assists, but Gosling just was 7 for 9 from 3. I guess 7 for 9 from 3 puts him at, he hit 7 threes in a free throw. So Gosling was not attacking the basket at all in this game, apparently. He was just shooting threes. But, you know, the efficiency from Gosling in this game was crazy. He was a monstrous performance. But Downey carried a lot of the movie as well, too. Massive, massive performance. Maybe pretty Jaylen Brown-y-ish from the finals. You've got Cillian Murphy as the lead, winning the leading and the support. I guess that's how it works. Because I was thinking Tatum won the conference MVP and Brown won the finals MVP. But Tatum's kind of the lead guy, so maybe it'd be more like if Tatum won the finals and Brown won the conference. But, you know, regardless, both guys from the movie, you know, got the win. Divine Joy Randolph, Best Supporting Actress over Emily Blunt, Danielle Brooks, American Ferrera, and Jodie Foster. I know American Ferrera with, you know, an Oscar monologue there at the end of Barbie and definitely delivered on that performance. But I know a lot of people, I haven't seen The Holdovers yet, but again, a lot of people were raving about this movie. So for it proves that this was hovering around in that contention because it actually was able to lock down a win in that spot. And should we watch The Holdovers just to support the comedy community? Because a lot of the comedians were at least they all went and saw the new Paul Giamatti movie, but we were not keeping pace with them on that one, that's for sure. But the writing stuff, international film, Zone of Interest, Society of the Snow, the Teachers Lounge, Uh-oh. Perfect Days in Lo Capitano? Lo Capitano? The Teacher's Lounge. Is this with the Martin Freeman and Jenna Ortega? What movie is this, chat? Is this the one that inspired it? Best animated film. The Boy and the Heron won over Spider-Verse? That might be the worst pick of the draft, chat, or the Oscars. I don't know. We never saw The Boy and the Heron, so it's probably a stellar quality film. And Elemental, pretty solid. Robot Dreams. Animated tragic comedy. Spanish-French co-production. Yeah, we didn't see that one either. But Spider-Verse, losing out. I forgot about that. Tough luck for our guy Spider-Verse. Kobe, unfortunately, not up for an Oscar this year in the short film. Who else has won? I think, has Kobe and Van Lathan both won Oscars for Best Short Film? Shout out to both of our guys. Again, rest in peace for Kobe. Billie Eilish taking home Best Music. I'm Just Ken. It Never Went Away. Is this a Song for My People by Killers of the Flower Moon? This one I did not see on any of the Spotify playlists. That's for sure. Same with The Fire Inside from Flamin' Hot. A biographical comedy drama directed by Eva Longoria. Based on the memoir A Boy, a Burrito, and a Cookie? From a janitor to executive, chat? This guy's got the game plan? Who is this guy? Richard Montañez, who claims to have invented flaming hot Cheetos. Stars Jesse Garcia, Annie Gonzalez, Dennis Haysbert, and Tony Shalhoub. Dennis Haysbert, chat, in one of his more recent films, has been in the movie about the flaming hot Cheeto guy on Hulu. June 9th, 2023. This movie definitely passed us by, but who knows? Add the Flaming Hot Cheetos movie to your watch list. If you like the McDonald's movie, I guess, with Michael Keaton, maybe you'll like the Flaming Hot Cheetos movie with Dennis Haysbert. But But Zone of Interest, Best Sound, Best Cinematography, Costume Design. Okay, chat. That was last year's Oscars. Again, Oppenheimer was expected to clean up, so definitely no surprises there. For this year, we mentioned Dune Part 2 and Wicked. Everything else, chat, good luck. If you've seen it, then you can definitely tell us which ones we need to be watching, because I think Anora is one that we probably, or which one? Amelia Perez. I think is this the one that we need to watch, chat? Which is the one? Musical crime film loosely adapted from a chapter of the 2018 novel. Wow, not even from a whole book. That's a new move, chat. Let's just take this chapter and can we milk an hour 20 out of this chapter? Page 114. Oh, production company. Just page 114. That's it. It's such a vivid and rich text that they can make a whole movie out of page 114, chat. No, there's only one book, chat. That's that deep. But is this the one with, okay, Zoe Saldana? This is not the one I'm thinking of. Which is the one with, okay, we're gonna have to cross-reference real quick. Best actress in a leading role. Best actress in a supporting role. Oh, it is Anora. Okay, Mikey Madsen. I think this is the young lady everybody is raving about right now. She's next up, chat, right? For running the game for the actor scene. I think she's in the lead right now for best actor. I guess we can, or best actress. We could check the market real quick and see what people are saying. I honestly don't even know what the rest of the field is for best actor. I just know her name because people are basically locking her in for a win in that role. So you gotta expect that she's gonna be the heavy favorite. And Anora right now also the favorite for best picture, chat. So like we said, we haven't seen any of these movies really. If it, it's not gonna be Dune or Wicked. So they might as well just give it to any of them. And it's all the same. Oh, Madsen is second. Demi Moore. is first with the substance, chat. Whoa! Demi Moore. I guess I did also hear that Demi Moore was up for an Oscar as well too, which I don't know if it's, you know, if it was subconscious programming with all the Oscar talk about Demi Moore, but we have been on quite the Demi Moore kick for watching movies. We have watched several Demi Moore movies here. Let's pull up the list here real fast, chat, and see. Yeah, Ghost, A Few Good Men, of course, Indecent Proposal, chat. Robert Redford? Is that a movie that you guys watch in February during Valentine's season? It feels appropriate. But, yeah, Striptease, of course, iconic. G.I. Jane? Speaking of Oscars, how can we forget G.I. Jane, chat? How could we forget? And then, of course, all the, a bit of a stretch from G.I. Jane all the way up until the substance, chat. We get Margin Call in here, I guess. But Scarlet Letter, which I had not seen, but oh, excuse me. When I was looking at Demi Moore movies to go watch, because again, I've been on Demi Moore kick, so it's like, let's keep this going, chat. It's working. These movies are good, but apparently the Scarlet Letter is not one of those. The reviews were saying that this is just straight up one of the worst movies ever. So quite a run for Demi Moore, straight up from, or no, it was not. Sorry to the Scarlet Letter. I think maybe not great reviews, but not the worst movie ever. Nothing But Trouble was a movie that was supposedly like the worst movie of all time. Here, does it have the reviews on it? Nothing But Trouble was panned by critics. Chris Hicks, writing for Deseret News, wrote, though Aykroyd seems to be having the time of his life as the judge, Chase, Candy, and Moore appear much less animated than usual and downright embarrassed in some scenes. Writing for New York Times, Vincent Canby criticized the script, believing its narrative had loose ends, and the movie looks less funny than expensive. Hollywood Reporter criticized the film's comedy, considering it to be skit level. The Los Angeles Times wrote, if you're in the mood to be clobbered with slate jokes, it might seem fitly amusing. Occasionally, the talents of the cast burn through a haze of misfires and remembered routines. To be honest, the way the critics are talking, critics talk like such snobs sometimes that it makes you want to go watch the movie. You're like, okay, you're acting like such a, you know what about this, that it's probably something here that's worth watching. So, directed and screenplay by Dan Aykroyd, starring Chevy Chase, John Candy, and Demi Moore with Dan Aykroyd. Like, there's definitely got to be something in this movie that's worth rewatching. It tells the story of two yuppies, the clients of one of them who are taken to court for running a stop sign in a bizarre, fictionally bankrupt small town of Volcanovania, which is dominated by a 106-year-old judge, which I think is Aykroyd's character. But Ghost, we just watched for the first time, I should say. So stay tuned for the Ghost watch along in July, chat. That's going to be a lot of fun. So, St. Elmo's Fire, another one we just watched for the first time as well, too, as of late. So, a big year for Demi Moore. 2025, she's a mainstay in the movie-going rotation, and it looks like she is favored, of course, to win Best Actress right now. 64% yes. Mikey Madsen, 28% is enough where if you've waited this long to make bets on the Oscars, maybe there is still a little bit of value there. Maybe there is still a chance. Again, if Anora is going to win Best Picture, I haven't seen Anora, but I'm assuming that would be on the strength of Madsen's performance. I think The Substance is probably a similar style movie to Anora in that it's very dominated by one character. Again, I haven't seen these movies, but just by knowing some of the plot points of what's going on with them, it feels like it's probably, a lot of screen time for those individual actresses. So if those movies are being considered in the order that they are, then I don't know if it's just they have to award both of them in some way. And maybe there's enough quality around Anora where Demi Moore, of course, is able to stood out. LeBron in 2018 versus the Warriors. Like, or any of those years. Like, could LeBron win Finals MVP, but the Warriors win the Finals? Yeah, probably. Demi Moore could be the best actress, and Anora still be the better movie. Would probably still be, a very possible outcome as well too. But looks like Fernanda Torres is the only other one with even, only one getting maybe even a couple of votes in the ballot as well. But best actor, Adrian Brody, chat. Adrian Brody for The Brutalist. And Adrian Brody, if I'm not mistaken, has already won an Oscar for Best Actor, which, if he's favored, might start putting him into historic territory, Tat. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Do we need to take a break so I can just figure out how to talk? We just need to take a talk break. Hit the reset button, chat. But that, I feel like, would start putting him in historic territory. Would that be like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson conversation? Lamar Jackson, can he win 3 MVPs before he wins 3 playoff games? Can Adrian Brody win 2 Best Actors before he makes a good movie? What's he, like, Alien or something like that? One of those Alien or Predator movies he was in? But actors to win the award multiple times. So when did Brody win? Back at the turn of the century, I think. Yeah, 2002. The Pianist. Which everybody just says The Pianist, but it's The Pianist. Adrian Brody taking out Nicolas Cage, Michael Caine, Daniel Day-Lewis, and Jack Nicholson. Not, I guess, Gangs of New York. A movie that's lived on for sure. Daniel Day-Lewis probably should have won for Gangs of New York, to be honest, instead of Brody. But Brody, you gotta love it. One of the better actors of the generation, so him being in the Best Actor club, that's totally fine. He's got those actory vibes, character actor, takes his job real seriously. But right now we've got Brody, Chalamet, Domingo, Ralph Fiennes for Conclave, and Sebastian Stan as Donald Trump in The Apprentice. Whoa, Stan! I did not see the Trump movie. When did this drop, chat? This is one of those movies that... Did they burn their Trump IP a little bit too early? Probably not the time to be dropping a movie about Trump. $16 million budget, $17 million at the box office. Looks like nobody else saw the Sebastian Stan movie as well. But he has had a bunch of good roles as of late. And the fact that the Academy is giving him looks like that, what a move, chat. What a rise. I guess Downey won for supporting for Oppenheimer, but Stan as the lead guy, if we're doing the post-MCU rankings. Bradley Cooper, I guess, technically is Rocket Raccoon, so he got nominated for Best Actor as well. Trying to think, did anybody else have like a cameo in a Marvel movie? Bardem was in a Marvel movie, right? What did he cameo as something? I'm forgetting right now what he cameoed in, but I'm pretty sure he appeared somewhere. But yeah, let's see what else Stan did recently. The Apprentice, Captain America, A Different Man. So in 2023, he did Dumb Money, Ghosted. He was in Ghosted? In Sharper. Fresh, 355, Monday. Oh, maybe Fresh is the movie I'm thinking about. This is the movie where he's the cannibal guy. That's a crazy movie, but it's a good performance. That's a decent movie. I would definitely say that it's worth a watch. Okay, so maybe not the most stacked run of movies, but I just feel like his performances have been getting a lot of love. So he's a guy that could win an Oscar for sure. If you had been betting will Sebastian Stan win an Oscar from the Marvel cast, that would have been good value. From back in the day. Bucky Barnes winning an Oscar? And I guess he's not really in the mix. Again, probably not going to see anybody winning an awards for a Trump thing right now. But maybe in the future. At some point they'll be doing the movie. Who knows how the movie will end, chat? That's just the question. The question is, how is the Trump movie going to end? What's going to be those last couple of scenes? Or not even the last couple of scenes. Are we just getting started? Who knows? But at this point, maybe we just go, okay, not now. Ralph Fiennes, 3%. Chalamet at 31. Chalamet, the only hope for history, keeping Adrian Brody out of this category. So it would be Daniel Day-Lewis with 3 wins is the sole 3-time winner. He's the Peyton Manning, the 5 MVPs. Otherwise, we've got Spencer Tracy, Jack Nicholson, Marlon Brando, Dustin Hoffman, Gary Cooper, Tom Hanks, Frederick March, Sean Penn, and Anthony Hopkins as the 2-time Oscar winners. I don't know if this is a hot take, but if Sean Penn is in this list, then maybe Adrian Brody can be on this list too. I feel like Sean Penn has been in more rewatchable movies than Adrian Brody has. I feel like his filmography might be a little bit more stacked, so he might have a little bit of a better case. Let's see here, chat. Thin Red Line, Being John Malkovich, I Am Sam, Mystic River. He is in a lot more serious movies than I thought. I thought maybe he'd have a little bit more of a fun discography. But, yeah, I mean, of course there's... Oh, Carlito's Way? Okay. That's a good time for sure. But, maybe the 2-actor category has already been crossed to the point where we could let Adrian Brody in. And let's check Adrian Brody's filmography here. What's the movie, chat, that I'm thinking of? Breakthrough 89. It's one of those Alien Predator movies. And I don't think he would have gotten nominated for it. Am I dumb? Am I not thinking of Adrian Brody? Who am I thinking of, chat? I'm thinking of somebody. People are like, what? You fool. Adrian Brody's not in Predator. What am I thinking of? We're not going to turn this into a rabbit hole of looking up the cast for Predator, are we? We just might. Oh, well. I'm getting somebody mixed up with Adrian Brody, chat. So Adrian Brody's career, forgettable enough. I thought he was in a movie, but he's not in that movie. So, A Complete Unknown is Timothy Chalamet's movie that he's nominated for, and Adrian Brody's acting career. It's just what it is. Also, the brutalist of a filmography. Anyways, we shouldn't be banking on him. He's going to win the award. So, shout out Adrian Brody, this year's Best Actor winner. And then, yeah, we said Demi Moore for Best Actress. Anora for Best Film. Was that close, though? Was Anora looking like... where'd our Oscars tab go? Some of these war odds are going up, chat. It's not looking great. But Polymarket's just going to walk us right into World War III. It's just what it is. Anora at 63%. Conclave at 20%. Wow. So none of the actual Conclave stuff getting a lot of love. But again, the movie doing well. A Complete Unknown, no. The Brutalist, maybe. At 13%. This might be good value. Buying yes at 14 cents or whatever this is. 14 crypto dollars versus $64 for Anora. That might be the move at this point. But, yeah, we're going to get Anora for directing real quick as well. Should we look at directing? None of the big pop culture names for the directing categories this year, the way we had Nolan last year. And like we said, maybe even not perfect with the names, but you still had like Scorsese and Yorgos Lanthimos. How do you say his name? I forget. Let's see here. Best Original Screenplay, Best Director, Sean Baker for Anora. Okay. Brady Corbett, The Brutalist at 29%. The Substance, Complete Unknown, Amelia Perez. They're all at 1%. So shout out. Is Anora on Netflix? It's a Netflix movie? Is this a theatrical movie? Is it still out there? Will it be on Netflix? Let's see if we can even watch this anywhere. Okay, it's still maybe in a theater somewhere. Potentially some show times for it. But I guess if it wins Best Picture, then it's going to get that bump. It's going to generate the interest. So we'll be in the group of people that are like, okay, fine, we'll check it out. This is what Hollywood is saying is the best of the best. That's what the top is. Pause. Screenplays, yada, yada. The animated feature film. Oh, we got a Wallace and Gromit in the conversation. Vengeance Most Foul versus Inside Out 2. Flow. Memoir of a Snail. Australian adult, an adult stop motion picture about a snail? So what's this, an X-rated movie about a snail, chat? That's crazy. A tragic comedy? Get this movie out of here. That movie has no chance. That movie's going to end up winning. Is there odds on that? The Wild Robot is number 1. Flow number 2. And then Inside Out has 1% odds. Wallace and Gromit, not a chance. The fact that Wallace and Gromit has the same amount of odds as Memoir of a Snail is disgusting, chat. That shows you what is wrong with the Grammys right there. How is Wallace and Gromit not just the hands-down favorite? Maybe we should have checked this out. The Wild Robot. DreamWorks. Oh, okay. As long as it's a good American production, chat, in the animated film category, we'll be okay. Documentaries. Shout out to our documentary lovers out there. Best song. We didn't have any big hit songs for music. Score, of course, it's going to be its own thing. But with Barbie and Billie Eilish, you know, that those can be once every couple of years. But it feels like we usually at least have one that, like, kind of at least makes some sort of waves in the charts. So, Like a Bird from Sing Sing. Did that do big numbers? The Journey, 666, and El Mal from Amelia Perez. Never Too Late by Elton John as well. This is not the Taron, what is this? This is not the Taron Egerton film, is it? The film profiles Elton John. Oh, it's a farewell tour film for Elton John. Oh, is this the one on Disney Plus or whatever? It might be. Production design, best sound, cinematography, all that stuff. It is. Oh, Nosferatu. A little Nosferatu locking down a nomination here. Best costume design. Okay. Shout out our boys over at Nosferatu. Another movie that we will be watching. Another movie that, I mean, ooh, steamy, chat. Ooh. Gets you intrigued. Gets you interested in what's going on. But get your dirty little mind interested in what's going on there, chat. But anyways, shout out to the movie industry. Shout out to Conan. Shout out to Demi Moore. If anything, we're tuning in tonight to watch Conan O'Brien and Demi Moore at the 2025, the 97th Oscars. So we got the 50th year of SNL this year, and then in a couple of years we'll have the 100 years of Oscars, and then both of those. No, SNL we want to stick around, but then the Oscars can go away. 100 years of the Oscars, and then that's enough. No, we like it, chat. The REMINGTOM Academy Awards. We'll swoop in at that 100-year mark and take over and try to clean up the Academy's act. But let's take a quick break. Maybe Denver, we can unjinx them by taking a quick break. Down by 15, Christian Braun cutting to the basket. Is going to have a chance to cut this to 13. Okay. This is why you can't go away from this Boston games, chat. It's Jokic on one side, so you can never doubt Jokic. But Boston, we just saw him do it again. We just saw him do this. So will it happen again, chat? Maybe on the other side of this break. We'll find out. Okay, chat, we're back. Oh, are we back yet? Nope, we're not quite fully back. Wait a second, chat. Wait. Where'd we go? We're just speaking from the abyss. Okay, testing 1, 2, 3, chat. It's Jokic, it's Murray, and it's Westbrook right now trying to complete this comeback. It's 13 points, 5.5 on the Sling TV feed at the minute. And, you know, no Gordon, it doesn't necessarily mean, like, Gordon and Westbrook aren't doing the same thing out there, of course. And it's not like they haven't had Aaron Gordon and Westbrook out there, and Aaron Gordon's missed his time before. But there was a little bit of a three-man dynamic a couple of plays ago where there was just a nice little chemistry, a nice little flow. Westbrook on the ball, Murray kind of off the ball. Westbrook screening for Porter right now. Porter peeling down, not being able to hit the three. So the Celtics are being able to kind of keep him at arm's length at the moment. But the Westbrook minutes is a jolt of life, chat. He's, of course, been good for him all season, but maybe he's the boost that they need in this game. It's just Jaylen Brown on the other end and Tatum, and they've just been able to hit a shot just enough to keep the Celtics at margin here. Tatum at 9, 9, and 7 is really in that triple-double-y range as of late, where I don't know if that's quite bearing out to a full season number yet, but he is a 28-8 guy at this point, and he's been trending that way for a while, and he's always had those pieces for his game. I mean, you go back and we were just talking about that Celtics-Warriors finals from the Warriors' perspective, you know, a live stream or two ago, and just remembering how great Curry was in that stretch. And Curry, you know, speaking of best supporting actor, if Curry had gotten that win last night against the Sixers, I would have been on here saying that he should be in the MVP conversation. Not that a win against the Sixers should put you in that conversation, but Curry, just to see his awesomeness again in the fourth quarter, like, is he just going to take over this game again and get this win? And unfortunately, Yabusele was able to hit a couple of clutch shots and able to knock him out. But Paul George had a couple of nice moments in that game. The amazing what happens when you actually focus on basketball, Paul George. But anyways, Tatum this year 27, 8, and 5.8, 27, 8, and 6 basically. So last year 5.9 assists was his highest for the regular season, but I feel like his number was up in the playoffs. Yeah, last year in the playoffs it was 6.3, and then 21-22 the year that they made the title. I guess what was there? Yeah, 24 games. He was again at 6 assists a game, 6.2. So if Tatum is in that 6 assists game range, that's really his peak number. But again, he's triple doubled in the last game. He's at 8 assists a game here in this game again. So let's just go as of late and see what Tatum's been up to. Oh, okay, so he had 3 assists. Cooled off against Detroit in that 20-point loss. I guess nobody around him shooting well enough to give him assists. Plus, he got crossed up pretty bad in that game, so he was doing his own, you know, he has his own struggles going on. But look at the rebounds as well, too, chat. Double-digit rebounds here as of late. I guess we could go since the new year, but the first day... February is a shorter month, so we give it the last day of January. January 31st to now. Come on, IT. Bump up the Wi-Fi speeds. I need to know the answer to this question. What are Tatum's points? What is Tatum's box score in February? What were we looking at? Only lost 3 games, but those 2 in that back-to-back in that Detroit-Cleveland. So I forgot about that. That Detroit game, Boston was so forgettable in that game that I just forgot that game happened. But they're going to be extra motivated to get a win as well, too, knowing that it's been a couple. Come on, IT. Load up here. Here we go. So Tatum, last 12 games, 28, 8, and 7. 47% from the field, 37% from 3. I mean, that is now... Those are LeBron-esque numbers, chat. That's a LeBron-esque box score right there. And again, this what we were saying about that finals. You go back to that finals against the Warriors into that playoff run that they had, and you saw that pieces with that 6 assist run that he had in there of him being more than just an elite shot maker. Because And the Tatum development has been interesting as well too in that aspect where Boston, Brown was there a year earlier. The Tatum and Brown emergences have kind of been side by side where, I mean, Tatum was, of course, has had the upside and has continued to be viewed and still plays as, the better player. But Brown's emergence as the second guy has always been in lockstep with Tatum. And, did Strother just go down, chat? Did he turn his ankle? Oh, wait. I was looking at the plant leg. And I don't think it was the plant leg that got hurt. Because the plant leg just, of course, planted. So if you see it injured on that, then you fear the worst. But I didn't see if the other ankle got rolled or not. But with Brown developing, and then you think about the team that Tatum was brought into as well, too, early in his career. It's always been a really strong supporting cast for Tatum. And that's not to criticize Tatum, but that's just to say that in the course of his development, there's almost a world where he could have been that. I mean, he's got the wristband on, chat. Like, Kobe Bryant is a model for Tatum, and there is a world where he is a Kobe-like player, and where Tatum develops as a really score-first type guy. And not to say that when Kobe was winning titles, there wasn't a bit more of a team focus happening in his game, and you bring in Pau Gasol, and there's not to say that Kobe didn't shift the way that he was playing a little bit, but Kobe, I mean, Wade as well, too, in 06. Even Jordan, like, they're in that two-guard score-first kind of model. Tatum was almost as a small forward, a version. Durant, maybe even. Like, Tatum could have been a little bit of a Durant. And Durant, in Golden State, he could get to be a really great playmaker and really fit well in that system. And defensively as well, too. Like, he could step up, and then you could get, like, a two-way thing from Durant, where there's an all-around aspect to Durant's game that is really, really high level outside of the scoring as well. But, again, there is that path where it just seems like that, and not that, again, that isn't a bad way at all. Like, we're still going, can Tatum be the scoring first guy on a title team? And it's what type of shots is Tatum getting into in his bag, and the looks on the court, and the efficiency of making sure he's not taking away from the offense and still letting the offense progress, but knowing in the right moments, hey, this is my shot. Not, again, these are all feel for the games things that stars should have in general, but as that bucket getter guy, that's where it seemed like Tatum was developing into, and now he has just developed into that all-round playmaking forward, where in the finals versus the Warriors, but then in the finals versus the Mavs, and in the finals versus Luka is, and I know we've mentioned this with Luka a bunch, and and Luka's playing great as well too now, of course, in LA, and Luka's going to continue to prove us wrong, and just in us with these little defensive nitpicks that he has. But you would always say that, hey, Luka offensively can give you more than a guy like Tatum, because he's going to give you that playmaking element, and that's just not becoming true anymore, chat. I know Luka's still a better he's a better playmaker. Luka maybe is, the best playmaker outside of Jokic, maybe the best playmaker, best passer in the league. You can make that case. But what's the checkpoint you need to get to win the finals, chat? And is Tatum he's maybe not going to give you the full level of playmaking that Luka's going to give you, but he's going to balance it out with better defense. And his scoring as well too. Offensively, the high level stuff that Tatum can get to can be the same peaks that Luka can get to. And then it just becomes an argument of what type of player would you rather have? Would you rather have the outsized offense of Luka, or the 90% of the offense and the elevated defense? And maybe, and you look at Tatum's game as well too, he can kind of, in a LeBron-esque way, where Luka, he's got the size of the forward and can control, you would give him maybe LeBron Magic comps in terms of the body type, but play style wise, he's always in more of a line with Harden with how he's been used. And maybe JJ Redick continues to unlock him in different ways, and he's not taken away from LeBron in any way. He's been able to, LeBron of course has shifted around Luka and continued to just be a great player, which there's a whole rant about that as well too, which could go into the LeBron Jordan thing as well. But for who do you want as your best player conversation, there's just less nitpicks that you can have with Tatum's game now, and he's just continued to grow into a more versatile player, and just, again, a different type of player, a different stem of player. where, and I guess to go back to finish what we were saying on that LeBron thought as well too, where LeBron can vacillate between these two things, where LeBron can be the guy next to Luka Doncic and be like, I can be the guy that'll change up the way I play. I'll fit next to you and pick my spots in these moments, and it'll be me cutting to the basket. It'll be me drifting off from three, and then, oh, also, I'm LeBron James. Yeah, when I have the ball, running the offense is second nature because I'm the greatest at maybe doing it ever. And pause. And, Tatum can be that guy where he's still the best player on he's still the best player on the Celtics. He's still the guy you're going to run everything through. But if Brown is having a moment, Brown can have his moment, and you're going to run and Jaylen Brown is a different type of guy as well, too, where is Jaylen Brown on a hot stretch versus are you running the offense through Jaylen Brown in the same way? Like, that's the brilliance of having Tatum next to Jaylen Brown is Jaylen Brown can have these score first moments. Tatum has developed into this playmaker where, okay, that's fine. I'm going to run the offense and then get my shots as I need to. And that's just a more dynamic version to me of a guy that he could have been, and a more dynamic version of a superstar than that score first bucket getter guy. And that's such a subjective thing to say as well too. Like, that's such a matter of personal opinion, because again, if we're comparing him to Kobe is arguably, however you want to rank it, like Kobe could be like the 6th or 7th best player of all time if we're the highest side of his legacy. So whatever, if Tatum is growing into a player in that mold, the peak of that is a top 5 player of all time almost. It's like, okay, that's still a awesome path to go down as a superstar to develop into. But again, it's just like the personal mindset of a fan watching, the entertainment value, I guess, as well too. Not that Kobe wasn't entertaining, and not that there are certain games that you would go back to for Kobe to watch and go, these are all-time performances, and there's all-time rewatchability factor with him just scoring all of these buckets. But just for that style of how we always talk about the hypothetical couch GM chat. We're perfect for doing it right now too, because of course we've epitomized that setup. But in our hypothetical couch GM scenarios, just the type of player that Tatum has turned into is the most appealing type of pause player that you could want to build your team around. Just that most versatile, unselfish type of guy. And if we start comparing like peak versions of what a guy is, like, with what Tatum is still doing, like, obviously has he ascended past a guy like a peak version of Steph. Like, that's a different type of player, Steph as a guard versus Tatum as a forward. Like, okay, yeah, there are still, except like Steph is still an exception to the rule where we're not going to take the swing first forward and the defensive, maybe the guy that's going to be the switchable defensive guy in that situation. But just like and Sam has always said this as well too, where Tatum is just like the ideal player. But again, as I could see what Sam was always saying with the shot package element of it, where his moves and his bag, and that's what he was always saying, Tatum's highlights would be the best highlights of any player, and just those peak Tatum moments, he's like, man, Tatum's game is as clean of a scoring game as anybody's game. But now it's just that full game. Tatum's game is like a perfect game. The playmaking element is peaking. The scoring element, like we're saying, of him is just not only is it efficient, and there's still even a level of efficiency that it could go to. Like, he's 47-37. He's definitely at the mark that you want to be, but he's still not a Durant level efficiency scorer. So, there's still even a level that he could unlock there in, 28, 29 as he continues to progress in his career. But just him in the mold of this player is perfect. And as I say this, the Nuggets are storming back. They've cut it to 5, chat, so that's good as well too. That means we're going to get an entertaining fourth quarter. And, it's exciting for us to actually be able to pay attention to this game now. But Tatum playmaking, it's Kata not being able to finish around the rim that time. Pause. Tatum, you see him get in there. So, fourth quarter, will we see maybe should he get a little bit more assertive? The mentality stuff from Tatum maybe is really the last thing that he still needs to figure out, and that's always kind of been the thing with him, but it's still it's like 99% of the way there. And even with what we're talking about, you have to understand with where we're at. It's not just, is Tatum going to take over this game? Is he going to be the aggressive moments? It's still bigger picture. We're March 2nd here in the regular season. It's, you want your guys to be those guys in every moment, but is this a game where Tatum is like, can I push it off a little bit longer to get these guys involved, to get the teammates going, to think bigger picture? But then again, maybe bigger picture, they don't want to drop 3 in a row. You need to get a win here. And not, especially 2 in a row being up 20. Once we get, I guess my point is, once we get inside the 8-minute mark, my point is he's got about 4 minutes in this fourth quarter before we really start judging him again. Before we go back to criticizing Tatum. Before the bipolar nature of people in the media takes over. 1 minute we're building him up. The next minute we're tearing him down. We're literally doing it quarter by quarter, chat. It's just what it is. But that playmaking number, again, along with that rebounding number, it's just that he's been really, really high up for that total box score. And could we even go, well, we're not going to start, just turn this into a full research pod, chat. But, yeah, maybe we'll dive into some of the numbers over the next couple of days and see where he's been at recently compared to some of these other guys. But I was thinking, like, if we could go into some of the fantasy point stuff. Oh, back of the rim on the third quarter heave by, who was that, Pickett? Our guy Jalen Pickett, shout out, getting some last quarter minutes there. Some just like, let's put him in so we can, in case we need to use up a foul on this last play. We've got Jalen Pickett. But they've really now just, it's a full takeover, the two-man game, Murray and Jokic. I mean, they're going for the win. They're pulling out all the stops. Is that even all the stops? It's different when you're a team like Boston where, again, you have levels that you can go to. It's like, well, Tatum can be the playmaker-y guy and let the guys do the thing, and then, oh, I guess I'll take over in this regular season game and win this game. Versus, like, the Nuggets, like, if we have to win these games, it's got to be Jokic and Murray just down winning these games, all this stuff. So, again, that goes to where we were, maybe to connect it back to the Oscars thing, to try to bring it, full circle in some way, chat. If we were looking at the MVP conversation for this year, as much as I would, and Tatum, as I was about to say it, I'm like, maybe I got to correct myself because Tatum has been pretty invaluable to this team this year. But it's just Porzingis, like I'm saying, Porzingis is super important there too. In a way that, could the Thunder win the title without Chet right now? With the way Shea is playing. Like, I don't know if the Nuggets could win the title without Jamal Murray, but maybe that's a little bit of a different thing. But, could the Celtics win the title without Porzingis? And maybe that would be a subconscious reservation that I would have about Tatum in some reason. So maybe I need to rethink that and now convince myself that, yes, they can win the title without Porzingis because Tatum is that guy, chat. Maybe that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's the conversation, like we were saying to start the game, that is being vacillated right now. And I don't even know if that's the right way to use that word, but that's the conversation in swing right now. Is Tatum's play is elevating, and as Porzingis is hurt, they're not having Porzingis. But of course, they've lost the last two games. 4 for 12 for 3 in the last game, though. We need to go back and refocus that game. Focus. It was the one that was distracting us from that game. So we'll get it in the rotation. Get the film on this one going. And see what was up here. What happened? How did Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs storm back? Oh, wait, because the Cavs are good, and they're the best three-point shooting team in the league as well, too. So maybe not a surprise that they would be one of the teams that make a comeback. But maybe the tape we need to go back and rewatch is this 20-point loss as well. Go see Amen Thompson crossing him back up, chat. Cade Cunningham putting in that work. But Cade's a guy like that, too, where he's got that offensively, that full type of game. He doesn't have the defensive aspect yet. I think he definitely could. I mean, the thing is, Doncic could as well, too. Is he a guy that could be a stopper at the level that Tatum could? Probably not. Could Doncic still be a solid level defender? I mean, we've literally seen him be a good defender. The same way Harden can be a good defender, where it's just like, man, why can't you just decide to make up your mind at most of the times in your career? But then again, you get what he's doing offensively. Has he earned that right? It is what it is. And at the end of the day, was it ever his defense as well, too, that we look back and go, Harden in the biggest moment didn't get a stop? Like, it is kind of a thing that you don't really say. It's the problem with Harden was, they ended up going 1 for 29 from 3. So the thing that Harden was actually doing well kind of ended up being their weakness, not actually his weakness. And that's honest. That kind of is how it is in the NBA as well too. And Doncic, as much as his weaknesses defensively and his approach, the attitude, mentality stuff, as much as that affected him in the finals last year, offensively, some of those games he wasn't playing as well either. Like it just it's as simple as that. But starting no Tatum here in the fourth. It's Jaylen Brown putting up a 3 right away, chat. Off the pin down. Jaylen Brown 3-point play out of the huddle. No Jokic either. So it's Jamal Murray and DeAndre Jordan. Jalen Pickett, Christian Braun. Maybe Jamal Murray needs to be in the MVP conversation because these non-Jokic lineups, I mean, the problem is, does Jokic get credit for playing with himself? Are we overthinking it, Chad? I think we've now just gone into the Matrix for basketball conversation. We're not giving Jokic enough credit because he's on the court with Jokic. It's like the same lineup versus whoever the star player is out there alone. But it would just be, Jokic is more impactful with the stars. But it's like, when Jokic is not out there, Murray is the one, of course, again, by himself with those guys. So while he's not Jokic level credit, Jokic level MVP, it's still something. Anytime he's maintaining with the bench, it's as impressive a job as anybody in the league. So to go with that, Tatum. But anyways, Curry should be at least in the conversation-ish again. Because the MVP odds I was looking at today were basically just narrowed down at this point to Shea and Jokic. And we are pretty far into the season as well, too, where the conversation is definitely forming up. But it was Shea, Jokic, Shea with like minus 550, Jokic at like plus 3-1, Giannis at like 20-1, and then Tatum at 40-1. So with the records as well too, it makes sense. Again, the Warriors are the 7 seed right now at 32-28, but the Grizzlies at the 4 seed at 38-32, the Rockets at 37. If they were to charge up to the 4 seed, I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying we put Steph Curry in the conversation right now. I'm just saying, can we close off the MVP ballot? And again, I mentioned the MVP odds is narrowed down to just 4 guys. We do get 5 guys on that MVP ballot. So if anything, Steph, I think, is working his way back into that first team All-NBA conversation. That should be the real way we should be phrasing it. Is Steph playing like a first team All-NBA level guard now? And Shea, of course, he's going to win MVP. He's going to lock in that spot. And the All-NBA is different, too, where you don't have to have the 2 guards. But, if we're just going for top guys at the top of the league, Mitchell, it's going to be difficult to not put Mitchell and not put a top guy from Cleveland on the first team All-NBA, especially if they end up with the best record in the league. I'm just saying that Curry is... And that scoring number has got to continue to go up as well, too. If Curry's at more than Donovan Mitchell and he's Steph Curry as well, it might even be more difficult to leave Curry off at that point. He is... Let's see here, chat. And we've got a bunch of people going. We've got multiple variants of Anthony Davis in the league right now. Multiple variants of Luka Doncic, apparently. But where's Steph at? Okay, Steph is at 24 right now. And who is the guy we were just dumping on, chat? Edwards, of course, is going to be in the mix. At 27 a game. Edwards is 4th in the league in scoring. LaMelo Ball is now down to 12th in the league in scoring. He was top 5 for a while. So LaMelo Ball, All-NBA, chat, 3rd team. He may get Sam's vote. LaMelo Ball is going to have at least one All-NBA vote. And it would be deserving as well, too. Like, it'd be perfect that... Because sometimes you need a guy to just give a guy a vote. Where we know LaMelo Ball is not going to be all... nobody else is going to vote for LaMelo Ball to be on All-NBA. But if Sam had a vote, it would be great for the history books to look back and be like, wait a second, LaMelo Ball had an All-NBA vote that year? What happened that year? And it's like, oh, wait, yeah, LaMelo Ball was good that year. The Hornets sucked, and, you know, he shot 41% from the field. But LaMelo Ball, one of the better players. Tweaker? We can't vote for Jello to be All-NBA, so does he get the tweaker points? I think he would. I think it would all work out. But we were putting him over Donovan Mitchell. So Mitchell is at 24-3 and Curry's at 24-1. Mitchell, almost the same three-point percentage as well. Better from the field. I mean, on the season, again, Mitchell is just kind of straight up maybe over Curry. And, again, the impact for Mitchell versus Curry's impact with those numbers, like, we get it. I guess we could look PER as well, too. Some of the advanced metrics. I bet Curry's got a better VORP than Mitchell. If Mitchell's VORP is higher than Curry, then lock it in. But then is basketball turning into baseball at that point where it's like at the end of the day, maybe we just, you know, it's like the beauty of Sam voting for LaMelo Ball. Like maybe we just stick with our gut and vote for Curry at the end of the day. That 56 is going to be a nice little boost for him, but it's going to help even out this 15. And again, Charlotte, you know, you don't need 38 to take down Charlotte. You just need 15. In the trade deadline, I think was the week of the 13th. So these couple of games would be before Jimmy Butler. But again, he was on this 30-point kick as they started to bring him in. So they lost those 2 games to Utah and the Lakers. But if we put the Curry numbers in here for the last 11 games, he's 31 a game, 47% from the field, 39% from 3 on 14 attempts a game, and he's shooting 40% from 3. He's making 5 a game. He's 91% from the line, 6 assists per game as well. And again, you know, 7-4 in those 11 games, pretty good record, starting to make way. And I mean, look at, you see the impact in these last games. Look at the box score, plus minus. He's plus 16 average over the last 4 games, 32 a game. He is 57-45. I mean, yeah, these last several, he's just been absolutely dynamite, chat. 7 assists a game as well, too. So we can't forget about Steph Curry. Again, you look at it individually, 30, 15, 56, 29. A little up and down. Lost to Philly. Not ideal. That's for sure. But no Jimmy Butler in that game as well. And Curry supporting staff. I mean, you see how important Butler has been to just bringing confidence into the rest of that group. And there's still good guys, like, and it happens, you know, it's not just losing like your second best player. It can happen with like you lose your 4th or your 5th best player, but just bringing in that one guy that can just kind of bump everybody into that right role. And now Podziemski just has a little more off his plate. Draymond has a little more off his plate, and it just becomes a little bit easier for everybody to kind of work, where some guys where, you know, you get the Oklahoma City with Chet going down and everybody is kind of able to step up properly, and it's, well, these guys can all masquerade in sort of one level above what they need to be for a while, and then Shea also is cooking at an extra level where he's making up for some of that stuff. Like the Warriors maybe don't have the roster where if Butler's out there, then, you know, Podziemski's just going to be the number 2 for the night. And did they have Kuminga in that game as well? Let's get a Kuminga update. I feel like Pat Riley was not able to quite get Kuminga. Yeah, he didn't play Saturday, but his last game was the 1st. Yeah, it's been that long for Kuminga. They have him listed at day-to-day now. So has it been the ankle the whole time, chat? Or was there something else that it was messing him up? So that'll be a good get back as well, too, just to help smooth out that rotation, especially as he continues to get healthy. But Curry with that supporting cast, just putting up the performances that he's had, he's at least, I mean, he's a lock second-team guy right now. But definitely back in that first-team conversation. And Peyton Pritchard is trying to put Jokic away, chat? Peyton Pritchard outdoing Jokic in the Hardwood Classic? Is that how they're going to title this later down the road? Remember the game where Peyton Pritchard went toe-to-toe with Nikola Jokic? Historic stuff, chat. You love to see it. But yeah, there was that Curry performance anyways that was super fun. I forget why we were even talking about this in the first place. Some with the MVP, with the best picture conversation. That's what it was. So for best supporting, I did kind of blurt that out earlier to start the pod, but I did want to mention Towns as, like, if we're talking supporting, because I think that is different as well too versus, you know, are we voting versus for the best second best player on the team, or is it that supporting type guy? And Towns may be even getting close to bordering in on that conversation. But, you know, like LeBron and Davis, of course, when they're paired up together in Los Angeles, that's a great combination of, you know, is Davis really like a supporting actor in that situation? And, you know, there's arguments, of course, for Davis's career that, you know, maybe he needs a guy like LeBron to push him over the top. Of course, you know, we'll see what he's able to muster up here in Dallas. Anthony Davis, we believe. But, and sometimes, you know, with best supporting actor, like we were looking at Gene Hackman. Like, Gene Hackman is like an Anthony Davis type guy. Is he actually like a best supporting actor, or is he a lead man who is sometimes the secondary guy in a movie and just lights up that movie? Versus, you know, maybe a guy like Robin Williams. Of course, Robin Williams could be the lead of a movie, but is that movie gonna win Best Picture if Robin Williams is the lead of that movie? If Robin Williams is the therapist teacher guy, though, in Good Will Hunting, and he's the supporting actor role, now we're talking. And it's not that Robin Williams can't be the lead guy in, I mean, Hook. Hook is like that 40-win team that was just the most fun team of all. Like, that's DeMar DeRozan on the Spurs, where you're like, I have just the best memories of this team, but obviously, you know, it's getting eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. You know, Miss Doubtfire, I can't believe we mentioned Hook first over Miss Doubtfire. I mean, Hook's solid as well, too, but, you know, Miss Doubtfire might even win a couple of playoff rounds. Like, Miss Doubtfire might make a run or two. That's a strong movie. It's going to hold up. It has I guess, you know, maybe there's some stuff as well about it that is not, but, you know, for the most part, that movie ages great. The Robin Williams performance, like, it's just an iconic stuff from Robin Williams. But, you know, if we're trying to win the title, like, maybe we need to put Robin Williams in more of a sidekick role, and younger Matt Damon, like, yeah, maybe that's like, 06 Wade. Like, I don't know if Robin Williams ever had the Shaq run in there, but, you know, Westbrook is like a type of guy. Is Westbrook going to be the guy that is going to take your team to the top as the lead guy? He's going to be league MVP, best player in the league, and he's going to win the finals. But could he be like Dirk is that type of guy. Like, we definitely saw Dirk be the best guy on a finals team, but is Dirk still at his best as the best guy? Like, if Dirk was, and it's tough too, because obviously that finals was such an iconic finals. Like, there's a version of that where, what if Dirk gets one of those early 07 finals, and for some reason I just feel like maybe the memorability of that just, it's like, okay, he should have won that one, and he only got one in that stretch, and maybe it becomes a little bit of a disappointment where that one title that he got, he wasn't supposed to win, and then obviously expectations are everything. The expectations of that are just so much better that he's able to get that one title. And he's kind of the exception to that rule. Maybe like that Pistons, speaking of the early aughts, like that Pistons team, you know, where they don't really have like a super legendary all-time great player as the leader on that team, just like a really solid bunch of guys on that team. But anyway, for the best supporting argument type guy, you know, Jaylen Brown, best supporting, and he's Klay Thompson, best supporting actor, versus, and is the league have that Anthony Davis LeBron combo at this point? I'm trying to think. Maybe there's one. Booker and Durant, even though it's not going well, chat, like that might be one. And Durant, of course, is in a different period of his career, so we're thinking like a peak version of Kevin Durant. This is going to have to be, I'm old man phase, chat. Like, I have to pull up the teams and, like, what is the strongest just individual 1-2 combination? Of course, that LeBron Davis combination was, you know, unique. And LeBron as well, too, is in that territory where he's probably best in a supporting role phase as of right now. I don't know if there's a guy that is like a pseudo number one as a number two. I guess it would be probably LeBron and Luka back in that combination. But like current day LeBron is not going to be the best player on a title team. Like we all know that. Could he have been back in the day? I said could he have been, chat. I just got canceled for saying could LeBron have been. LeBron definitely was. But yeah, they kind of don't have that all-time like two all-NBA guys just locked in. Like that's why I was thinking about Brunson and Towns, especially for this category. And maybe I'm overthinking as well too what the category actually is, because like I'm saying, maybe we don't have somebody that applies in that Anthony Davis role as the overqualified, and it would have been LeBron as well too, sort of over the last couple of years in that overqualified number two. But Towns might have a case right now as like the best number two guy in the league, where almost at certain nights he is the best guy. Like is he more important to the Knicks than Jaylen Brown is to the Celtics? Obviously, both of those injuries would be super devastating, but Towns' skill set at his position, that center position, of course, is just a different position when it comes to the depth of talent there, where there is a lot of depth at the center position, but that peak talent of guys creating offense and being the lead guy from that spot is, and especially with Embiid out as well too, like it's a perfect season for Towns to have an emergence in this way, because he doesn't have Embiid in the Eastern Conference now to go toe-to-toe with him in that way, where it was always Jokic and Embiid as the first team, second team guys. But, and especially with Davis now being injured for enough of the season to miss out on all of the All-NBA stuff, like Towns is easily the second team All-NBA center. And maybe, are you going to put Mobley in as a center for second team All-NBA? You're not putting, as good as Mobley has been this year, he just hasn't had a better season than Towns. It is what it is. So if we were giving best supporting actor, for me right now, it might be Towns. LeBron is a tough one for this category. Like we're saying, he's moved into this territory now where I think he's officially a number two. He can't win the title as a best player. Like Towns, we know Towns is not going to win the title as the best player on a team. Can he win the title and be the best player in moments? For sure. But Brunson is also the leader, commander of that team. And they don't need Towns to be the best player on that team because they have Brunson. Again, they'll take it if Towns gives it to him. But at the end of the day, Brunson is that best player safety default to go to. So that's why I think Towns has that case right now for this role. And Jaylen Brown, of course, too, amazing. Like the Cavs, we got to give him credit. But I don't know if anybody has Jalen Williams was an all-star this year, but I honestly think he was just an all-star because of the Thunder's success, and the Thunder needed a second guy. Jalen Williams has been great this year, but I don't know if he is quite a top 15 guy in the Western Conference. A top 12 game. He may be top 15 with some of the injuries and stuff. We sat down and went through the list. But, if everybody's healthy and we're putting... And that, becomes a thing like Davis gets injured and, you start getting injury replacement stuff too. Like maybe Jalen Williams gets in anyways. But if we're actually sitting down and picking guys, like Jamal Murray, I would probably still rather have Jamal Murray in a playoff series over Jalen Williams. Jalen Williams defensively really gives you a interesting dynamic. So I guess Jamal Murray offensively, obviously superior to Jalen Williams in a playoff series. Jalen Williams, really good defensive player, does give him credit, and that's going to help for the all-star case as well too. But Towns right now I think is my best supporting actor, which I'm again surprised that Stephen A didn't mention him, which I saw him mention Jaylen Brown, and then I think I saw an Evan Mobley mention, so there had to be a Towns mention in there somewhere for sure. But maybe he's just saying Towns is in that best player category and he's just too good with what we were saying earlier. I guess you can get that in best supporting as well too. Too much screen time. If you get too much screen time, then maybe you are a lead in the category versus obviously supporting and being additive to the rest of the movie. But Best director as well, too. Again, I don't want to say like giving out coach of the year necessarily, but if we had to give out a best director award for the NBA, I think Reddick is got a really tempting case for it right now. I think, coach of the year, you're going to look more toward the top of the conferences and the best teams. And if we look at Joe Maz, if we look at Malone for the number 2 teams, those teams are, with the Nuggets and Celtics, teams with a lot of expectations. So for them to be in that spot, it is impressive. But again, it's not a lot of impressive over EPA type stuff. They're kind of in the place that they should be. Doc Rivers in Milwaukee, probably not going to get a lot of credit for going 34-25 with that team, even though being the 4 seed at this point is still pretty nice work. Udoka in Houston. You know what? We may have to give Bickerstaff some credit in Detroit. JB Bickerstaff, and this is why you bring him in as well, too. Just the king of getting it at like 45 wins. The man will get you some competent basketball play. If you've been garbage for a while and you need to turn some stuff around, bring in JB Bickerstaff. I mean, look at these last couple of years, chat. Not bad at all. Not terrible at all. The start, Houston 51%, 52% win percentage, going 37-34 in 71 games in 15 and 16. And then, not great in Memphis those 2 years, 28%, and then 40% wins. 45%, 11-5 Cleveland in that first year, interim 11 wins. But then, 30%, 55, 60, 58, 55 in Detroit this year. Hey, maybe your Bickerstaff's not going to win the title. So that is maybe a tough comp then for best director. Like, could the best director direct a film that is not going to win best picture? We'd have to really go back and look at the history. Because, if, like, what movie would it be where the direction of the movie is, like, so superior, but the film itself, maybe there's, like, some acting performances in the movie where, like, a couple of performances really hold this back, but some of the shots and the story and the rest of the way it's laid out is perfect. I have to really go back and look. So maybe if the team is not going to win the title, maybe he can't be a best director. But if we're looking at a different tier of coaches for this award and just thinking who has, really outperformed expectations and who's really doing a good job with what they have, Bickerstaff has some good pros there. Tobias Harris, we clowned him. It depends on what you're paying Tobias Harris for his value in the league, obviously, but he's still a good basketball player. He's still a decent basketball player. Still better than some of the guys that they've had there. The younger players they've been able to filter out, and Ron Holland, Amen Thompson, some rookies have been good for him, with Cade, of course, continuing to develop as well, but Duran's still there, and you're able to keep a couple of the other young guys from past that you kind of like still sticking around. So I really do like what Bickerstaff has done in Detroit. Like Carlisle and Indiana. Indiana was in the conference finals last year. We're not necessarily saying they're running that back as the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference, but they're still a team that should be getting home court in the playoffs, at least they should be a team that's out of the play-in mix anyways, at the very least, and probably winning a playoff series and at least having some expectations after, again, probably overachieving last year, but they're going to continue to get better with some of the young guys there. So you'd expect them to, again, just be in the mix in at least feisty team category. There's always those teams that's like, they're not going to win the title yet, but can they put themselves in place to be in a spot to win the title in the next couple of years? Could Indiana, we leave this season going, oh, that's a team that, like Cleveland last year, go, competing for a title? And again, not that they weren't doing that last year with being in the conference finals, but they were overachieving. And we weren't thinking that they were going to go into the finals and win the finals with whoever they would have played. Dallas probably would have really appreciated. And imagine that series, Chad. Dallas versus Indiana in the NBA Finals. We might have had to actually replay the season at that point and gone, nope, this is not right. Something happened. Something broke in the computers, and the simulation did not add up correctly, and somehow we got the 5 seed and the 6 seed or the 4 seed, whatever Indiana was last year. But Kerr, starting to turn this around in Golden State a little bit is not bad either. But I would say either Redick in the West or Bickerstaff in the East right now have really impressed. And the Warriors could get, if we were going to go like a sneaky best picture team, you know, obviously Cavs and Thunder at the top, Celtics and Nuggets as well too. We could re-mention the Knicks for this, the Lakers, but it is kind of a steep drop-off as well. I don't know if there is that just sneaky team. It would just have to be the Warriors because Steph is the best player of any of these teams. If we were going 4 seed and down, obviously we got to go Giannis is the best player. Ja still upside-wise, you know, incredible upside with if he's able to get back to peak versions of Ja Morant. But currently playing, Steph would be the second best. And just if we're going on fire, and maybe entertainment value-wise, Steph over Giannis right now. And Giannis is always top 5 entertainment value for us, for guys to watch as well. But he may be playing the best right now of any of these lower seed guys. Luka is top 3 seed. Like you mentioned, Knicks, top 3 seed as well too. You know, Orlando, it's like we did see Orlando be good at one point in the season, so could that just be the most random team to turn this around? Maybe. Again, maybe I want to say Detroit. Indiana, I guess we saw them have a really powerful stretch of the season as well too, where, you know, they were rattling off some wins. Maybe powerful is a little over exaggeration, chat, but you know, they're rattling off some wins there over the course of the couple of weeks. So they may be in the mix. Milwaukee with Giannis, but let's go. It's tough to, and that I feel like that could happen with the Oscars as well. Like just something makes a late push in the last couple of months, in the last couple of weeks, and just somehow swoops in and steals the win. It's like the Warriors just dead in the water, and then get the Jimmy Butler trade. Steph starts to go to another level as well too, and now all of a sudden we're giving them the best picture, and they're the 7th seed. But hey, of the non-top teams, they're kind of the most feisty right now. Maybe Houston. They were a top 3 seed for a while. Lost some games as late. It is the recency bias does help though, as always. It does help, but it looks like Boston is gonna get this win. We didn't even get to the combine today, people. Yikes! I guess the last day of the combine is today, so we'll just let that play out and I guess get the full results. What do we have today though? Like offensive linemen and punters, so you know, maybe not results that we would be filtering in anyways, but 106-99, 30 seconds left. Inbound to Braun, foul. So what, they just gonna make oh no, they're not in the bonus yet. Okay, they are now though. So what, next free throws on the horizon here? Then they don't have to worry about Denver at least like making threes anyways. They can just, you know, exchange some free throws going back and forth. Just 30 seconds closer to watch the Spurs getting beat later tonight, chat. Pause. Against the Thunder. We'll see. De'Aaron Fox. Steph Castle was awesome in that Grizzlies game. Two-way menace. Had a couple of plays where it's just like he's just like dipping down into the paint, just ripping the ball away from the post guy. Unstoppable, chat. Seeming like he's probably running away with Rookie of the Year at this point. So you'd love to see it. But may not result in a win and may not result in a close game either. But if you focus on Steph Castle and just don't look at the scoreboard, the Spurs games, they become a lot more entertaining. A lot more fun. Shout out Greg Popovich. Hopefully all's well. We need to get Pop's information so we can send him like a care package or something. For all the good times, all the good memories. I don't know if we like can autograph a signed. Did we just autograph the couch cushion at which we watched all the Spurs games? Send it to Pop. Be like, here, Pop. From all the memories as a fan. Maybe a couch cushion's not the most ideal, chat. Maybe a pillow. Maybe something that we weren't just directly sitting on might be the best version of it. But Tatum going to the line. Up 5. You get the foul in time. Horford, the layup's not going to count. Horford sprinting down the court like a young man, chat. Looking spry. It's as fast as he's looking. We clock Horford's speed on that fast break. What's the fastest Horford has run this year? Has the man broke 15 an hour? Horford's still moving it. You want to clown at him for, like, compared to the NBA guys, but yeah, he's still... Horford's still probably faster than us. Could we beat Al Horford in a foot race? Pause. Could we defeat Al Horford in a foot race at this point in his career? Who's the youngest athlete that we could outrun? And you would think like some lineman or something like that, but again, at the peak of their powers, they're just going to be faster. It would still have to be a retired guy. Jokic with the little layup. They're just trading 1-2. 8 seconds. The foul. Horford. Don't mess it up now, Horford. 8 seconds. Up 5. You really just need one. It would make it 2 shots. It's still 2 shots, but 2 full 3-pointers. And then we get a 3-point game. 3-score game. If Horford's able to clutch both of these. Or do we miss both of them now intentionally, get free food, and still get a nail-biter game? Celtics fans, they're used to panicking at the end of some of these games, so they get a little free food in the mix post-panic. Might not be the worst thing in the world, but we get the first one to go on this little NBA Domingo chat. Little NBA Sunday for you. You love to see it. We just got to make sure there's not a dramatic ending to the game. Celtics, they're not going to let Murray do much. Horford, get off of Murray. There's no need to guard him. Let him dribble it out. Let him put up the 3. Let him run the clock out. There we go, chat. Shout out Boston with the bounce back win. 110-103 versus the Denver Nuggets. So there you go, chat. A little Sunday, I guess not really Sunday morning. Maybe on the West Coast Sunday morning, but a little Sunday noon, midday stream for you. So, you guys can hit us up on the socials at Rem and Sam on Rem and Sam Pod on Instagram, TikTok. We're out there on all those feeds. We're on the podcast feed, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. Basically, there's a ton of, random Spotify podcast apps out there as well, too. They're not random Spotify apps. They're random podcast apps, but random audio apps. I guess the Amazon one's not random, but still kind of technically random enough compared to Spotify and Apple. But if there's a feed that you get pods on, Rem and Sam Pod is probably on there as well, too. And if they have video on there for some reason, you can watch us on there like Spotify does as well. Or you just stay at the main hub, Rem and Sam, on YouTube right here if you guys want to give us the old subscribe. But otherwise, we'll be back later in the week as well, too. Fun stuff cooking up. March is going to be loaded, people. We've got all kinds of, of course, March Madness. There's a couple of movies that will be dropping. There's there's just all kinds of stuff that'll be in the mix this month that you guys will want to be staying tuned into. So follow, subscribe, do all that stuff. And like I said, we'll be back. So thank you guys for jumping on today. And go enjoy the rest of your Sunday, people. It'll be a good one.